Tell me, do you know what day it is, Evie?
November the 4th.
Not anymore. Remember the 5th of November.
I speak of Yemeni bodega owners and Mexican abuelas.
Soy ilegal.
Senegalese taxi drivers and Uzbek nurses.
Boo!
Trinidadian line cooks and Ethiopian aunties.
Go back to where you come from, okay?
We will prove that there is no problem too large for government to solve and no concern too small for it to care about.
You are a threat.
In this world, there's two kinds of people, my friend. Those with loaded guns and those who dig. Broadcasting from a Montana wilderness fortress at the headwaters of the Missouri, this is Matt Christiansen Live.
Hello and welcome to the show. This is Matt Christiansen Live, a proud duct tape production for Wednesday, Remember, the 5th of November, 2025. Thank you for tuning in. Sitting shotgun tonight is our friend, Matt Palumbo, highly regarded author.
Highly.
Welcome back.
Thank you, sir.
Saddle up, partner.
His highly regarded book on Alex Soros, The Heir, inside the not-so-secret network of Alex Soros, now available. Linked in the description if you'd like to pick it up.
I didn't even ask for this plug. I'm very impressed.
My sources say, Matt,
Yes.
makes an excellent Christmas gift. Highly regarded Christmas gift.
For every family member, yeah.
Yeah. One in each
You don't know what to
stocking.
get, yeah. No, on a more serious note, if everyone could go break the Amazon terms of service and leave a 5-star review that's watching, it would help me quite a bit. So just a humble request. I think nowadays, by the way, I might be wrong, but I think you can leave a rating but not a review. So it takes 10 seconds max. You'll be back on the show in no time. No skin off
There
your
you go.
back.
Don't even read the book. Just give it a good review.
I don't care if you read it. No, just leave the review. Yeah.
All right.
Anyway.
Well, in the news tonight, Zoran Mamdani is your New York City mayor-elect, and Democrats have big election wins elsewhere. I'm not as doomer about this. I think Matt's going to try to make me doom spiral. We'll see.
We got raped, man. It was bad.
All right. Well, I don't know. I just don't know what people were expecting. People vote blue in Democrat states.
Well, it's the momentum, because Jack only lost by a couple points. Jack Citrielli, the Republican nominee in Jersey, against the incumbent Phil Murphy. Obviously, this time around, there's no incumbent advantage. Plus, the 2024 race in Jersey was closer in Jersey than Arizona, which is a traditional swing state. So it was important for momentum, and obviously, it did not materialize. I mean, maybe we just didn't have the best candidate, but it was literally every race we lost. Like there was no silver lining.
All right. You can doom sell me in a minute. I'm not. It wasn't a great performance, but I just don't. Was I expecting to go live? And wow, oh thank God, Andrew Cuomo won. Oh wow, Jack Ciattarelli won in New Jersey. Oh wow, that guy who wants to kill your kids in Virginia actually lost. He was the only one where there was like a decent chance, and I know it didn't work out, but I don't really know what everyone was expecting out of these races. So we'll get into it. There are rumors, I believe them to be credible. Nancy Pelosi set to announce her retirement from Congress, so we will remember Nancy Pelosi. And a UPS plane crashes at the Louisville airport on the runway. Just a massive explosion, killing something like a dozen people. Still don't know exactly what caused that, but it looks like one of the engines on the plane fell off as it was taking off, so we'll get into what happened there. Plus, of course, we'll take your calls and emails. If you'd like to call the show, you can do that using the Discord server linked in the description. There's help and instructions available for you on the server. And hey, if you'd like to leave a voicemail for the show, you can do that as well. There's a phone number in the description. You can call that, leave a voicemail. The voicemail inbox is actually empty tonight, so if you'd like to leave one to play back later in the show, you got about an hour to do that, and we'll catch up with you then if you want to leave a voicemail. And of course, we'll catch up with your super chats as well. Always appreciate our super chatters. But before we get into it, got to say hello to our friendly listener-owned business for the evening, and that is our friends at Hero Soap Company. When you try Hero Soap Company, not only are you getting a great smelling all natural product, not only can you subscribe and get soap sent straight to your door each month, but you can get my signature soaps designed by, yes, yours truly. Timberline is the classic, a frosty pine experience where the forest meets the peaks, double menthol for that high altitude cooling effect, or you can try Old West. Highly regarded, some say, Matt, but definitely highly underrated, the reviews say. Sweet smell of leather and oak barrels will bust open the saloon doors. And as I've been mentioning, back for a limited time, the finest scent, outside of course, my signatures, lemongrass, calming and lemony sweet, just like lemon drop candy. You can pick that up, or any of Hero Soap's other fine offerings, including shampoo, conditioner, cologne, and more. 10% off all of it using promo code MCListener. That's promo code MCListener for 10% off everything from our friends at Hero Soap Company. You can find all the information from Hero Soap Company and our other friendly listener-owned businesses like Hope Innovations, Kinneo Mountain Woodsmithing, Western Razor Company, and more at mattchristiansenmedia.com/deals. Deals by listeners. For listeners. All right, Matt, let's start with the obvious, which is the New York City mayoral election results. Historic. All of these are historic. You know, they said, what was it? I saw something that was called historic because it was the first Democrat woman to win a seat. I should have remembered which seat it was. But now things are historic when it's not the first woman, but the first Democrat woman to do it. Thought that was pretty funny. I should remember.
Tells you who the real first person to do it was. But well, with Mamdani, the only silver lining, I guess, is one of Curtis Sliwa's legacy in that Mamdani got more than 50%. So even if Sliwa had dropped out, it wouldn't have made a difference. So
yeah. If Cuomo and Sliwa had combined their support, you're right. It still would have been a slim victory for Mamdani. So no matter what, New Yorkers were going to get Mamdani. And the idea that Cuomo was ever going to be some kind of savior for this city, that was laughable in its premise. But as a practical matter, it was never going to happen anyway. And the thing about Mamdani, for all his faults, the momentum behind him is very real. In fact, he's approaching Joe Biden record levels of vote counts. It's the most votes for a mayoral candidate in New York City since the 60s, according to the New York Times.
Is that like adjusted for population or overall?
I think it's overall. I think it's raw count.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's less impressive then. But
why is that less impressive?
Well, the population was lower back then. Like if the population's doubled today what it was in the 60s, then
yeah. Sorry, I was thinking the reverse. That
gotcha.
Yeah. Anyway, you're the math guy around here.
Poorly.
We like to pretend. Anyway, how did Mamdani do it? Well, he did exactly what Andrew Cuomo said he would do.
He touched young people.
He dominated certain demographics, including, yes, young people.
This is the number I thought that it was just jarring to me, the age divide. Voters over 45 in New York City, Cuomo won them by 12 points. Voters under 45, look at this, 44-point landslide for Mamdani. That youth power that he had behind that movement, huge story.
And there are other relevant demographic factors I want to get into, Matt, that include gender and immigration status or time that whether you were born in the country or not, really.
Well, it's good you mentioned that because one of the sort of, I don't know if boomerish is the right word for the talking point, but, you know, how did the city that says never forget after 9/11 forget and then elect him? And the thing is, if we had the same demographics and the exact same people in New York City as we did on 9/11, he would not have won. It was all new arrivals, people who were not alive during 9/11. Like no one forgot. It was just they replaced the electorate. And when people
that's interesting. I hadn't thought of it in the age way too, because you're right. As I want to get into it a little bit later, that whether you were you're native born or you're an immigrant was a huge divider in these election results. But so was age, and you're right that a lot of these voters, I always forget, man, because I have such vivid memories of watching 9/11 myself when I was like 12 years old, eating breakfast, and I saw the second plane hit the tower live, eating my oatmeal. And I forget that there are voters who are too young to have that experience. It's
some of them were born after it, which is, for me, if someone doesn't have a memory of 9/11, I just don't care about their opinions. So it's a nice just way to dismiss people. But you got to figure what is the cutoff? 2006 or 8?
To vote right now?
Yeah, or 2004?
Yeah, it would be
with my poor math.
Well, I thought you were the math guy. It's 2025 minus 18, so 2007, roughly.
Okay, all right, so it's even worse. Yeah, so that is a pretty big window of I don't know, the electorate that has no memory of it, but very depressing.
Well, I want to, before we get into the demographic breakdown, I want to play a few highlights from Mamdani's speech, and it was a fiery victory speech. And he gave a shout out to actually the entire world, except for Americans. This one's for Uzbek Ahmed. This one's for Pakistani Ali.
I speak of Yemeni bodega owners and Mexican abuelas, Senegalese taxi drivers and Uzbek nurses, Trinidadian line cooks and Ethiopian aunties. Yes, aunties.
I don't think nothing's funny about it.
You know what stands out? We're always attacking hyphenated Americanism because it's so obvious someone's pandering when it's African American, Asian American, etc. And we're always saying, it's just American. He dropped the American.
We've united on eliminating the hyphen. You're right.
We've it's like I don't know, we're at polar opposites of that spectrum, but no, it was incredible. And he also does that thing where when they say like a Hispanic word, they put on the Hispanic accent. So he was like a Yemeni bodega. Very lame.
Yeah, it's like when Obama used to say Pakistan. He would pronounce it in authentic Pakistani way.
There was some guy in Newsmax who went viral for saying we need to start doing it with every race. Like, if it's a Chinese suspect, you have to say their name with a Chinese accent.
Now, I actually don't get the Ethiopian auntie bit. Like, that's a joke that I don't understand, and I guess I'm not supposed to get it. What's the deal with why would he double? Why would he say it twice? What's the funny bit about Ethiopian aunties?
Maybe there's so many of them. I don't fucking know. The Uzbek nurses, are Uzbekistan people known for that?
I don't know. I don't want an Uzbek nurse, though. I
guess we're kind of close. They're the closest to white, I guess, we get on the list, which is, I don't know.
Wasn't that, well, there was that guy in New York City. Wasn't the Home Depot rental truck guy down the bike path in New York City? Wasn't he Uzbek? That was like, what, 5 years ago?
I don't remember.
There was a major Uzbek terror attack in New York City not long ago. We forget about them, but it was the guy who rented a Home
I remember
Depot.
The attack. He killed one person, right? I think.
I can't remember what his body count was, but I remember talking about it at the time because it's like whoever the Home Depot guy was who rented to an Uzbek man, you're getting fired for sure. Or maybe not. I don't know.
Probably not in this day and age.
Anyway, Mamdani also spoke to his philosophy of government, which of course has been covered at length. But he's outright saying in this victory speech, the government is your Lord and Savior. In fact, there is no problem so large that the government can't solve it, and there is no problem so small that it's beneath the government's benevolent hand.
We will prove that there is no problem too large for government to solve and no concern too small for it to care about.
Yeah, that's a seemingly benign statement, or it's very brief. But that is a complete inverse of our founding philosophy. Our country, of course, is built on the premise that the government has a necessary but very small role, so it's necessary to limit the government, to keep it confined under strict definition. Of course, to curtail its abuses and its excesses. But this guy's saying the opposite. The government can and should do literally everything. And of course, I'm reminded of the famous statement from Ronald Reagan.
I think you all know that I've always felt the 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
And the craziest thing about that is when Mamdani's saying the government can solve literally all of your problems, he's implicitly saying, or at least a stone's throw away from saying, I can solve all of your problems, which of course he can't. This guy has never built anything in his life. If he could build things that were successful, he would be out building them. Instead, he's grabbing the government gun to point it at other people. That's not what a helpful person does. That's what a criminal does. But I guess if you live in New York, you're about to find out.
Yeah, he has no actual work experience. He has a few rap videos that are
That's right.
not as bad as they could be, I guess. But
Sorry,
I
I didn't mean to smear his rap career. He did build that.
And then when he ran for state assembly, he ran unopposed. So he didn't really have much of a challenge there anyway. Like, if I ran as a Democrat and no one else joined the race, I would have won too. So I don't know. It's just not impressive at all. It is impressive that he got this far. And I thought he ran a very good campaign, but he ran a good campaign in the sense that it's the kind of campaign you and I would have running for class president in middle school. It's actually a very easy one to win.
Well, I will credit him for sticking to the issues. Now, of course, I disagree with his prescription for all of the issues, but I thought he did that effectively. In the debate, you had Cuomo standing up there and saying, well, he lacks experience, and what happens if there's another 9/11? It wasn't speaking to what people care about, which is issues on the economy and affordability. Now, Mamdani is not going to make things more affordable for you. You're going to suffer under his economic philosophy, but sticking to the issues rather than trying to paint the other guy as some sort, having some kind of character flaw, I think was the right move. And I think Cuomo should have stuck more to the economic philosophy rather than the lack of experience. But I don't know that it mattered. People love Mamdani. And I know that you're a little bit discouraged by this race and some other ones, but I want to offer you one win last night. Matt, did you see that at Mamdani's victory speech, his visuals, his graphics, his video was hacked? And someone put up a display that says, Trump is your president.
Got him! Got him!
Oh, it's great. I think someone on Twitter claimed they had the news on and they were reporting on a story where they said that. Not to.
Oh, it wasn't a hack?
I don't think it was. I hate to, be the bearer of bad news here, but if you want to pretend that it was a hack, that's awesome.
Oh, I'm going to do that.
I'm good on that hacker. That was so funny.
Thanks, bro. You really saved the night, and we're still winning the meme war. I love it. Hey, you know who else loves it, though? Your guy, Alex Soros. A big Mamdani fan. Mm-hmm. And he posted a photo of himself with Mamdani saying, the American dream continues.
I doubt it.
I think some might ask exactly how many Americans are in this picture. It's debatable, perhaps. But what a strange alliance of the billionaire hater and the billionaire. But Alex Soros, I guess, is in the good graces of this communist. But even to the point, the American dream, what exactly, you're the expert on this, but what exactly is related to the American dream about receiving billions of dollars from your father and not building anything yourself? That doesn't seem very. I'm not saying that you don't. I'm not smearing anybody who has wealth in their family, but the American dream is building something for yourself out of nothing. The American dream is not cool. I got George Soros's wealth.
Or at least building something that actually adds to society. What's very interesting, or the most interesting about this photo, is that Alex has been in Europe all this week. So he was not in New York City the day of the election. So this photo was taken weeks ago, and he knew not to release it until now. It's, this is, I don't know if you've ever seen the movie The Big Short, where there's this scene where these guys who were kind of doing some sketchy, financial activity or bragging to like Steve Carell's character and some other people about it. And one of the guys who's like one of the good guys in the movies goes like, I don't get, why are they confessing to us? And then the other guy goes, well, they're not, they're bragging. And it's exactly what this is. Like he's bragging that he has this influence and waited to now to show us and say, yeah, it was me. Mamdani appeared, because in New York, they have fusion voting. So you can run as multiple parties. So there's a very influential party called the Working Families Party that Soros, both through Alex and through George in the past, have channeled nearly $40 million to. But you can appear on their ballot line on, when running for mayor. And it basically tells people like you're a legit progressive, because to get on their ballot line and get their endorsement, you have to sign on to a bunch of far left policies like defunding police and just general far left social justice-y stuff. So Mamdani actually voted for himself on that ballot line. Alex supports the party, and it's a way to try to push Democrats further to the left in that there is some sliver of the electorate, let's just say 5%, that are far leftists who won't vote Democrat. But if they see someone running as a Democrat who is technically also part of a second party that they like, well, then they'll also capture those votes. So that's how he's helping him.
All right. Well, there you go. All the best to Alex and his wife, Huma Abedin, the strange wife of his that's 10 years older, and I'm sure they're married for, genuine love. Yeah. All right, let's get to Virginia and your state, New Jersey. So Virginia also, this flipped blue for governor and attorney general. You have former CIA officer and congressional Democrat Abigail Spanberger ousting incumbent Lieutenant Governor Republican Winsome Earl Sears. She was Lieutenant Governor for Glenn Youngkin, who Glenn was not eligible to run again, right? Was he termed out or what?
No. So in Virginia, you can run 2 terms. They can't be consecutive.
Oh, so that's
have to run, step down, and then run again to have your 2 terms.
That's strange. Okay.
So it's very dumb. Yeah.
But then also there's Democrat Jay Jones flipping the AG seat too. And again, this is the guy who went through that scandal a few weeks ago where texts were revealed of him saying to his fellow lawmakers in the state house, hey, I hope the Speaker of the House's kids die and he has to watch it so that he learns a political lesson and agrees with me. And people said, whoa, that's kind of crazy, man. Are you serious? Yes, I'm very serious. Not a joke at all. This is what has to happen for people to understand my political philosophy. That guy won fairly comfortably. This was supposed to be the closest race of them all. He won by about 5 points. Spanberger, I don't think anybody thought it was likely that Earl Sears was going to win. But again, it's a margin question. You're looking at about 14 points here or something. So it's not that the expectation was that Republicans were going to win these races necessarily, but the margins are wider than expected, and the margin was wider than expected in your neck of the woods in New Jersey too, where your guy Phil Murphy is on his way out. So you have Democrat, what's her face, former Congresswoman Mikey Sherrill, right?
Yeah,
and Republican challenger who made it pretty close with Phil Murphy 4 years ago.
I think it was 4 points or so. It was reasonable for Jersey. There's 800,000 more registered Democrats in Jersey than Republicans. And I remember in high school, I think when Chris Christie was governor, it was 700,000. So I believe a large part of the gap is just Republicans leaving the state, or at least that 100,000.
Could be, yeah.
But, yeah.
You wonder why, is there that much enthusiasm for Mikey Sherrill? Why would Chitterelli have performed better 4 years ago than he did this time around?
I did see, this is anecdotal evidence and signs don't vote, and you can have one person put up 1,000 of them, but I did see a lot more Mikey signs than Jack, and I'm in a county that I guess apparently is now 50-50 right and left. So there was more visual enthusiasm for her. She positions herself as a moderate Democrat. I don't know if there's any such thing. And in fact, she was one of the people who trashed Charlie Kirk after his death. So I find that alone disqualifying, but Democrats don't. Oh, and the Republican woman who released those Jay Jones texts lost her seat too. So the whole night was totally fucked. Yeah.
So as I mentioned, without doing some kind of sophisticated analysis on this, I'm not that worried. I'm not that concerned because I think fundamentally this is blue states voting blue. And I know that people like to talk about how Virginia flipped, and that's true. But is the outlier Democrats controlling the governor's office and the AG's office, or is the outlier Youngkin and the incumbent attorney general there, Miyares, in the first place? That is to say, Virginia is decisively blue. They voted Kamala decisively. Every other they're a so-called swing state. Every other swing state went for Donald Trump.
So in Jersey,
why should I worry about Virginia? There are a bunch of federal employees who are pissed off about the government shutdown, and I want to talk about that a little bit more.
And Trump could just fire them all, which would be hilarious. But in Jersey, so mixed thoughts on that. This is the first time since 1971 in Jersey that a Democrat has won 3 consecutive races in Jersey. On the other hand, the demographics of the state are way different today than they were back then. In that, the state is, I think, close to 50% white. back when it was 80 or 90%. I mean, if only white people voted, I believe Jack would have won. So you could argue, well, if the demographics were the same as 30 or 40 years ago, it wouldn't have went that way. But it is I don't know, a unfortunate statistic that this is the first time in 50 years that this has been pulled off. Basically.
Yeah, well, I want to get into that a little bit more because there are two interpretations here. Like, let's say this is really bad news and Republicans failed here because the expectation was maybe you pick off one of these seats that Democrats, again, were favored to win. The question is what was done about it or what could be done about it, and there is a lot of introspection on the strategy, which I think there should be. Did you knock enough doors? Do you have enough of a ground game? Absent Donald Trump, maybe you don't. But I take your point on demographic shifts that cause me to question how much of a ground game would it take to overcome that sort of thing, or is that even possible?
Some of it is not. Like the whole Republicans trying to get the black vote, where if it's like when they say, like, Trump got a historic number of black voters, it'll be a town where it's like 17%. And I'm like, how many resources did that take that could have boosted any other group double digits? Like, there's an opportunity cost to even trying to move the numbers in certain communities. And there are certain groups that are just permanent voting blocks to the left. Like even the boost in Hispanic support for Trump, where he got Hispanic men. All the counties in Jersey and all the towns where Hispanics went for Trump went for Cheryl like plus 20 or 30. So it was a candidate specific thing that you could not replicate.
And
across the party.
One other point I wanted to make too, because of course I think the demographic shifts do matter, but you're seeing a lot of reporting, publication on the reversal of the 2024 trend, because in 2024, Kamala v. Trump, you saw a rightward shift in effectively every county in the country. Yeah. There might have been a few exceptions, but pretty much every county in the country shifted rightward in its voting. Now, in Virginia and New Jersey, whatever factor explains it, whether it's Republican campaign failures, demographic shifts, some combination of both, you are seeing a shift back to blue. And of course, I don't think people who are conservative in their views want that. But I also wonder, how was that not an inevitable result here? When you're dealing with an off-year election, Trump's not on the ballot, and you already pushed it as rightward or redward as it's going to go. Of course, there's going to be a little bit of a blueward swing back because there's no more redward area to push to. So even the trends I'm not that worried about. Like the pendulum was over here. It can only swing so far.
It would be that the margin of victory for the left was greater than it was in the election year. So in Jersey, it was 6 points. I think Harris won by versus 13 points for Cheryl. In Virginia, it was obviously closer than the 10 points Winsome Sears won by. Although Winsome Sears is not a really big Trump fan, it seems. He didn't get her endorsement. I don't think she likes him. And also Republicans. If we're going to say things like Democrats are the real racists, then let's just only run white guys, because first of all, we'll actually win. And two, if Democrats actually are the real racists, that'll also help us because then they'll vote for us. So that's my solution, is more Matt candidates.
Bingo.
I like it.
Yeah.
I want to talk about a couple of the smaller races before I talk about some more demographic issues. But Minneapolis mayor, of course, there was the question, was that Somali pirate candidate Omar Fateh going to win? No, he did not. Instead, you have the incumbent mayor, Jacob Frey, who desperately wants to be a Somali pirate. He is hanging on to his seat. Now, it's very complicated ranked choice voting in Minneapolis, so how much he won by, I'm not even sure I understand.
It was six. They went to the second round, so it was a 6-point victory.
Pretty comfortable then. Like this could have, yeah. If it was close, he would have stretched out forever.
You know it's bad when we're rooting for the guy who is crying in front of George Floyd's casket?
Yeah, well, that's the same way I feel about New York. Like, oh man, if only we had Andrew Cuomo.
I was getting dinner with my wife earlier this week, and the guy behind us, we overheard loudly talking about that race. He was like, "You see that guy who looks like the guy from the Captain Phillips movie? He's running for mayor, and what's the state he's running in?" It was.
Well, that's better than we were talking about on Sunday. We thought it was more like Megamind or Mars Attacks, but I don't know if you can. I don't know if you can make those jokes.
I see them all. Yeah.
Did you see the story of this woman in my neck of the woods? This lady running for city commission in Montana's state capital, Helena. She made this call in July. I posted a video about this morning. If people want, so you're aware. If people want the full details, she's running for city commission. She calls up our senator, our junior senator Tim Sheehy, who was just elected this time last year, and she's very angry because he had voted to support the big beautiful bill. And she leaves this minute-plus rambling voicemail, telling him that she hopes that he dies.
Fuck you. I hope you die.
And that he dies like a dog.
I hope that you die in the street like a dog.
So again, if you want all the details on that voicemail, check out the video that's on my channel, also on my website homepage, mattchristiansenmedia.com. But did she win? Because I was wondering, this should be disqualifying, but it might earn her votes in what is that race was effectively Democrats running against Democrats. It's in a state capital that exists for the purpose of government. This might be a campaign asset, but no, she actually lost. It was a race for 2 city commission seats among 4 candidates. She came in third, so she was edged out. But she tells the Montana Free Press that she's proud of herself because she clearly ruffled some feathers, and she's never going to stop fighting for her community, by which I think she means actual street fights. In that voicemail she sent to Tim Sheehy, she said, "God forbid I ever see you on the streets, because implicitly I'll kick your ass." So I don't know. She's going to keep fighting, figuratively or literally. But, originally she doubled down and refused to apologize, Matt. And I don't know if some consequences have come her way or what changed her mind. But earlier this afternoon, she issued an apology to Tim Sheehy, promising to work on herself and be more committed to civil discourse moving forward. So, and I was thinking of, because this shop of hers, this Indian trading post that she manages, it's like an hour and a half away from me. I was thinking of making a visit down there just to have, I don't know, say hi, see if I could talk to her, see what
video out of that, yeah,
see what the interaction might be like. But I feel bad for the guy who, now on the one hand, the guy who employed her, I have a hard time believing that he was surprised by this development, but he's shut down the whole store and he's put her on, he hasn't fired her yet, but put her on some kind of unpaid leave, and he just wants nothing to do with it because clearly he's taken a lot of heat for her. But I'll have to wait to go down to the Indian trading post for at least a week if I want to do it.
If I had an employee who got in trouble for saying political stuff online and it was stuff I agreed with, I would just put out a public statement saying that I fired them and then not fire them. I don't know why no one's tried that yet. Like, I think they did that with James Gunn with what was it, the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, where they like canceled him, but they just removed him from the project, then rehired him like a year later after everyone forgot.
The soft cancellation, the optic cancellation.
I would just, just so they go away, but then I would, stand by my guy.
Here she is at her store, and you can see on the left-hand side, there's a pride flag with Indian feathers on it. So I assume that sort of decor is at the owner's approval. It's not purely on Haley McKnight, but I don't know. Anyway, you see what happened in California? You got another, again, a thing I wasn't expecting to go any other way, but Gavin Newsom's redistricting proposal passed easily with some 64% of the vote. So this is going to reshape how California's congressional districts are mapped and allocated, assuming it stands up in court. Republicans have already challenged it in court. We'll see if that holds. I have no idea which way that's going to go. I'm guessing Gavin's map will probably hold up, but you can see the shift here. This is the new boundary, or the new map. Or wait, no. This one's old. This one's way, yeah. So this is the old map. This is the new map, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so what's going to happen here is you're going to have something like 5 seats that are more reliably Democratic. You're probably going to have +5 Democrat seats in Congress as a result of this. But I've seen some breakdown of the math elsewhere, because you have redistricting in Texas and other states. It still looks like Republicans are going to get a pretty comfortable boost out of these redistricting efforts, despite California's efforts. So, yeah, of course, I would prefer not to have California crazy in Congress, but likewise on this, I'm not actually terribly concerned, and I don't think it's going to change the fundamental makeup of Congress all that drastically. Do you have reason for concern about this?
Well, my takeaway from the elections last night is that we need to disenfranchise as many people as possible. So
Correct.
So I'm really for every Republican state counteracting this. I saw an article in the New York Times that was trying to quantify like different scenarios, like what if California redistricts but every other red state that has announced intent to do so does so. And I think it nets out close to 20 seats for Republicans. And then if the Supreme Court does gut the Voting Rights Act, there's another 20 districts that were basically just artificially created to help black Democrats that are going to go away. So that's 40 seats. I mean, even if we underperform by 50%, it's 20. So
yeah, then you don't have to worry about Virginia or New Jersey or California at all. See ya. Yep. Anyway, I want to talk about some of these demographic issues. And so specifically two demographic groups. You have young women and you have immigrants. And the young women have been such an interesting voting demographic for so long because characteristically, they're very fickle. Young single women are among the most reliable voting bloc for Democrats. They vote something like 80% for Democrats. Then they get married, they become moms, and they flip entirely. They become reliable conservative voters. But we saw that in play last night. You had Mamdani. He touched 81% of the young women in New York City, right on brand.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Andrew Cuomo. They shared that. You're right. 80% of the young women in New Jersey voted for Democrat Mikey Sherrill. 78% of the women in Virginia voted for Democrat young women, that is, Democrat Abigail Spanberger. And young here, I think, means under 40, something like that. Mm-hmm. These are all numbers according to NBC's exit polls. And, again, this is a demographic that tends to change at different stages in life more significantly than other demographics do, too. But there was one moment in a voter panel on Fox News, it was Monday or over the weekend, there was a panel of voters discussing the upcoming, they're not midterms, but, off-year elections, the elections we just saw. And you have this woman offering her opinion. Understand, this view is very demographically representative.
I think what's really important and standing out for me right now is if we can take ourselves like a high level, like not say immigration, not say economy, not say all the hot talking points, and just ask ourselves, how are we treating our neighbors? Like, how are we treating one another? And is it okay that yesterday, on Saturday, 42 million of our neighbors no longer can feed themselves? Is it okay that our neighbors are getting taken off the streets by ICE? Is it okay that gender-affirming care is being taken from young people who really need it to survive? Is it okay that the Supreme Court has now justified racial profiling? That's not how I want to treat my neighbor.
Yeah.
Shut up, bitch!
They say racial profiling as if there's no evidence. Like, I remember when I was researching Stop and Frisk, the argument was, well, it's 90% black and Hispanic people. That's why, so it's racist. So I looked up the perpetrator data of, who's suspected of crimes in New York City, and it perfectly mirrored who's committing crimes.
Well, yeah, and what she's talking about there is profiling on suspected illegal immigrants. Yeah. Oh, the Supreme Court said, yeah, you can use factors like language or accent. Maybe industry working. Yes, sorry, lady, that certain demographics are more likely to be illegal immigrants than others. I'm not going to pretend like, Michael, the middle manager, is the same as Jorge, the day laborer. Yeah. I know that not all Jorges are necessarily illegal immigrants, but if the goal is arresting and removing illegal immigrants, there are going to be places where that is more likely to be the case and places where it is less likely to be the case. But
I was going to say, up to 10% of the population of this country is here illegally. Hispanics are 20% of the population. So it could be 1 in 3 Hispanics that you see is not here legally. So if you're going to racially profile a group, a 33% hit rate is, I'm not a sports guy, but I know in baseball it's pretty good. So
well, it is amazing listening to her make that list. And like you're saying, you're thinking, that is good. Is it okay that 42 million of our neighbors are starving? First of all, they're not starving.
They're fucking enormous, man.
We're talking, they're disproportionately obese.
There's not one SNAP person they've put on TV that looks like they're emaciated or just get the concentration camp. They're always like 900 pounds.
I can't believe our trans kids aren't getting the health care they need to live. They don't need to have their genitals cut to live, lady. I don't know what to tell you. So you have this demographic that is just insane in their worldview. Like everything they believe is the mirror opposite of not only what sane people think, but of just objective reality, in my opinion. And I ran across this tweet from Tommy Lahren today, and I don't bring this up to like attack Tommy necessarily or try to smear her, but I fundamentally disagree with this take on how to handle this disconnect with female voters. And she's saying, well, there you go. Republicans got smacked again, and they don't get it. They don't get how to relate to women. So here's what you need to do. You need to stop lecturing women on how they should stay home and be wives and mothers. It's not your business. Focus on what women voters actually care about, the economy and safety. Now, I know
that at all. If people cared about things like taxes or crime, and they were the number one issues, every liberal city would be the most right-wing city every election.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, yeah. They're dealing with a lack of security.
Or maybe I shouldn't say they don't care. I think they just can't put two and two together. Like, if you were to tell women, like, oh, we have a crime problem and it's all white frat guys, they would go, they would be fine with that. But if it's Muslims or something, then because that's right-wing coded, then it's a problem. Then it's, well, that's racist. And they think there's some cosmic law where if an explanation sounds like it could be racist, it's automatically not true.
Yes. Yeah.
It's the weirdest thing.
Yeah. But I know that Tommy's not asking me to lie here, but when I read this, that's the way it feels to me. Like I'm supposed to appease female whims to win politically. And no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to betray the truth to win politically. And what I mean when I say that is that women crave leadership. It's in their nature. This is not a hate comment about women. This is not to dismiss women. It is to say that women do look for the sort of things that Tommy is talking about: security, safety, whether that's economic or literally physical. But they crave that in a husband and a husband's leadership. And when society is functioning well, it is when men lead women in that way. When men and women are separated, you have women putting that craving for security in the wrong place, which is government. So as men, or as people who don't understand this prevailing female perspective, the answer is not to appease it. The answer is not to wave the white flag and say, well, I guess in order to win, we have to tell them that abortions are cool and really girl bossing is just fine. It's the exact same thing as being a mom. No, it takes leadership, and we have to restore women's desire to live a traditional role, not because we're trying to put them in their place, but because that's what they naturally want, and that's where they naturally find happiness. And by the way, that's where men find happiness too. We need to, you have two options here. You can repeal the 19th, which we can talk about, or men can take a stronger leadership role in restoring the family, which we know turns around women's voting habits like nothing else. They flip from like 80% Democrat to, 60%, whatever percent conservative.
Well, with repealing the 19th, they flip to 0% Democrat.
It might be more effective.
It's pretty effective. But it's pretty done.
I don't know if Tommy Lahren would be on board with that. But again,
that's the beauty of it.
I'm not trying to pick a fight with her personally. I'm just saying this philosophy of like, well, there you go, losing to female whims again. Better surrender to female whims. No, I will not. But those female whims need leadership. It's what they want. You don't need leadership in government. You need leadership in the home from your husband. And that's not to dismiss women. It's to say that men need their wives too. They need the support of their wives. They need family. They need children. When these two things are together, the world is in harmony and it's functioning properly. When we keep perpetuating the lie that, there's no real difference between being a mom and being a girl boss, both can satisfy you. Then you wake up 40 and childless and you're very unhappy and you vote for Democrats for the rest of your life to fill that void. Don't let your female friends live that life. It's not a good thing. Don't surrender to that. Anyway, just my thoughts on that.
The whole girl boss thing too. Like when you're a guy and you want to aspire to greatness, there is kind of the end goal of making enough money to retire and do whatever you want. So the whole girl boss thing of aspiring to the working in the office part of the equation, I feel like you're aspiring for the wrong part of the story. Anyway. Yeah.
Women are not just men with different equipment.
No.
A man might find great satisfaction in professional success and leadership. And I'm not saying that no women do. I'm just saying for the most part, women are not satisfied in that way. And really men, like some men might be satisfied for the sake of riches or whatever. But you know what most men want to do with the money they earn? Provide for a family. That's the ultimate goal. You know, you make $1 million and then what? You die and you have no legacy and no children.
Even that's
some men might be satisfied with that, but most aren't going to be either.
Yeah. One more month, by the way, and then I'm entering fatherhood.
Well, there you go. Yeah, you're gonna find out real quick.
Very.
Then there's the question of the immigrant voters, which we touched on a little bit, just like Mamdani with the young people, according to Cuomo. But the difference in native-born versus immigrant New Yorkers was very stark. Voters born in New York City backed Cuomo 49% to 38%. People who have lived in New York for less than 10 years, Mamdani won 81% of them, and many of those people are immigrants. Among people who lived in the city more than a decade but were not born there, Mamdani won 55 to 40. And the stat that I saw, I believe this to be correct, among native-born New Yorkers, Mamdani only won 34%. Sheesh. And the question is, well, what percent of New York City is foreign-born? It's over a third. It's something like 37, 38% of the city's population is born or was born outside of the United States. So this is the question that I posed earlier, Matt. Given these results and the debate now of whether this is due to poor campaigning, strategy, all of those questions, is that the case, or are these predispositions of voting demographics that are going to be very, very hard, perhaps impossible, to turn around anyway? Is there a ground game that can change these minds? And maybe that's an unfair question because New York City is tilted so far in one particular direction. But when I look at places like New York City, New Jersey, Virginia, California, I just don't know what ground game is going to turn that around, or really what campaign strategy is going to turn that around. These things are demographically decided, it seems.
Yeah, who is the, I guess, sort of dictator, but a benevolent one of Singapore, who said that when you're in a multi-ethnic society, you basically vote for your tribe, not for policies. And the thing is, white people are pretty much the only demographic that actually votes on policy, and we project our own beliefs onto other people and standards and assume they think the same way. But on average, that's not true of other groups. I mean, the black vote went, I think, 75% for Henry Truman, and Truman, a Democrat, Henry, it's the same thing. Harry,
yeah.
Harry Truman in his youth was briefly a member of the KKK, and this was known. And again, he got...
Was he really? I didn't know that.
It was a very brief thing, but it obviously got blown up.
He did a tryout. He wasn't picked for the team.
Yeah, maybe that's it. My point being, he still got 3/4 of the black vote. So the Democrats could run a Klansman against us, and we would still lose. So what's the point in investing any resources into the demographic, as opposed to, we have a lot of white people that lean right and never vote. So we'll just, lean into them, which is what Trump did in the last election, and it worked very well.
Yeah. Last thing I want to say about the election results here, the question too is, what are the impacts of a Trump-free ballot? And we know that if Trump's not on the ballot, Republicans are going to suffer. Yeah. But the question is this a president thing or a Trump thing? And of course, it can be some of both. But we're about to find out in 2028. We're going to go through the midterms in 2026 too. But the question of, is this a president thing or a Trump thing? And how much of either? When Trump is no longer on the ballot and you have someone else at the top of the ticket, theoretically J.D. Vance, maybe a Ron DeSantis, someone like that, what effect are you going to see? How much Trump star power is really inflating Republican electoral expectations? We're going to find out in 3 years' time. There's also an update on
government shutdown.
It might be coming to an end. Now that the election is over, Democrats, they're done with their stunt to enrage their own voters, and they can call an end to this thing. That can all stop. There are now rumors of a deal to end the shutdown. The idea supposedly has 3 pieces. There's going to be a vote on the healthcare tax credits, the subsidies that Democrats have been so mad about. There's going to be a vote on a short-term funding extension, presumably something like the same thing that has already passed the House and the Senate was sitting on. And then there'll be yet another spending bill to deal with a few other issues: military construction, legislative affairs, and agriculture. All the specifics are unclear. Some of these bills might be passable by simple majority, not even requiring the 60-vote threshold that has held the government in shutdown for all this time. But I'm starting to think that some of the shutdown, obviously it was strategic by Democrats, Matt, but for what reasons and what purposes, and there might be many. But I'm starting to think that one of those purposes was just to enrage all the federal workers in Northern Virginia to get as much Virginia advantage as they possibly could.
Yeah, and I think because they all turned out, they now all have to be terminated.
Well, one can dream, but I don't think that's going to happen. But
Bruce Vaught, man, that guy, he'll figure it out.
Well, maybe. I'm glad you have faith in something after this. All right, I got a couple topics to get through before the top of the hour, and we'll get to our callers. Appreciate your patience, guys. I might be a little bit late, but I'm gonna hustle up here. But it is big news early this week. Former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi has finally decided to retire from Congress, or at least reportedly so, and it won't be immediate. It would be at the end of her term. But as is tradition, we will remember Nancy Pelosi.
A stunning moment here, and Nancy Pelosi tearing up what appeared to be a copy of the president's speech.
Will you remember me?
Oh my.
Other people in our family go for some other flavors, but chocolate, and then we have some other chocolate here. We just got it restocked with the ice cream. I don't know what I would have done if ice cream were not invented.
But to be clear, you're not taking any arrows out of your quiver. You're not ruling anything out.
Good morning. Sunday morning.
Look at those massive jugs.
Get a good look at those beefers, Matt, before they're out of Congress.
That's disgusting.
So her office has denied, or not, had sidestepped reports on this.
Yeah.
But leading into this being announced, Scott Wiener, the California state senator who legalized giving people HIV,
correct, yeah,
jumped into the primary. So
it's a misdemeanor, actually.
So,
you can,
So
it's a low-level crime to give people.
I assume he has insider information that she will be stepping down, and that's why he joined, because he would not beat her in a primary.
I don't. Well, that's the question, because of. Yeah, now Nancy Pelosi is currently 85 years old. If she serves out the rest of her term until January 2027, she'll be 87. So you have the explanation of I'm just extremely old. But of course you could do the Dianne Feinstein and die in office. Isn't that what she did? She never retired, did she? She died in office.
Died in office, yeah. I had this Mandela effect thing with her where I can't remember if she's alive or not.
She's
dead. She is dead.
It's like all these politicians. Who knows? They live forever, it seems. So she has the plausible explanation of I'm just very old. But to your point, is Scott Wiener, because he's one potential challenger, and you're right, he's the guy who tries to who reduced the criminal penalties for giving people AIDS and has made other efforts to normalize or equalize child predator laws. That is to say, if you do it gay, it should be
okay.
I can't remember, but I think it was like penalized more severely if it was gay child predation.
Well, their logic is always disproportionate prosecution, so they'll be like, "Well, gays are disproportionately accused of these kind of crimes," and it's like, I wonder why. Yeah, we're going to figure that one out.
It's kind of like your stop and frisk. Situation there. Yeah, I think that's a lot of the crime is stopping and frisking. But anyway. What's going on here? Is Scott Wiener running because he has insider information that Nancy Pelosi is leaving Congress, or does he think that she's vulnerable? I mean, she is 1,000,000 years old. There is she's got a lot of money. She could probably get money until she is 90 plus. But eventually some of that money is going to change, I would think, and people are going to view her as a more vulnerable candidate. You also have a challenge from this other guy, I forget his name, Chakrabarty. He's a tech millionaire in the San Francisco area. He's running too. So you have multiple left flanks on Nancy Pelosi. do they know that she's leaving, or is she leaving because she thinks their challenges are credible? The other factor for Nancy Pelosi is that it's believed that she wants to all but hand that seat to her daughter, Christine. If Nancy Pelosi was successfully primaried, which is a big if, I don't know if that would happen, but that removes Christine's congressional future for the time being.
I looked up other primaries, and she usually gets 70+% of the vote, and even in a crowded field for a seat. So it is pretty safe for her, is my point.
So you think that they know, the challengers know?
I think they're probably tipped off that she's probably going to step down. Yeah.
Well, Nancy Pelosi will become just like Andrew Cuomo. Oh, please, please, Nancy Pelosi, stay in that seat. We need you. You have to stay in there forever so we don't get Congressman Scott Wiener trying to nationalize his AIDS policies. But it seems like that's the direction it's going to go. Oh, and Nancy Pelosi also did an interview with CNN on Monday. Did you hear this one? Like, we're way past Trump is Hitler. Trump is a fascist.
He's actually worse now.
He's the worst thing. He's a vile creature. He's the worst thing on the face of the earth.
He's just a vile creature. The worst thing on the face of the earth. But anyway.
You think he's the worst thing on the face of the earth?
I do. Yeah, I do.
Why is that?
Because he's the president of the United States and he does not honor the Constitution of the United States. In fact, he's turned the Supreme Court into a rogue court. He's abolished the House of Representatives.
What? I wish.
She still has a seat in the House of Representatives.
Yeah.
But I
guess she means was the shutdown?
I think that's what she means, yeah. And that rogue Supreme Court relinquishing its own power back to the states in many instances, you know, as the Constitution specifies. But she's the Constitution queen around here. But you know, don't worry, murderers. Don't worry, child molesters. Don't worry, rapists. At least you're not Trump, the worst thing on the face of the earth.
They actually believe that, though, is the problem.
Well, that's why they're killing people. Yeah. Now, when Nancy Pelosi retires, is she going to become like a financial advisor? Where do I sign up to get her stock tips? Are those still available?
Someone compared, because there's an investment fund that tracks her stock trades. And then there's also one that goes inverse of Jim Cramer's stock trades.
Yeah.
She's like routinely. And the inverse Cramer actually has a higher return than the Pelosi fund, meaning he's so bad at trading stocks that betting the opposite is better than insider trading.
We're going to have to make that illegal, actually. Yeah. Betting the opposite on Cramer, too reliable.
The disclaimer with that stat is Pelosi's trades we know from public filings, so they're lagged. They're like quarterly, I think. So technically speaking, the fund that tracks them can't update until a few months after she makes the trades. But it is a funny stat at face value that he's that bad.
Well, before we get into calls, I want to talk a little bit about this UPS cargo plane crash at the Louisville, Kentucky airport. This was yesterday about 5 o'clock local time in the evening. And the plane was taking off from the company's distribution hub. Louisville is a hub for UPS. So it's fully loaded with fuel, a massive quantity of fuel for this flight to Hawaii. And somehow the plane had problems heading down the runway for takeoff. It lifted briefly. It got something like 175 feet in the air, but then it ended up skidding on the ground down the runway and exploding into a massive fireball. And latest numbers I've seen, this report says 9. I believe that's up to 12 now, 12 people dead, because earlier today there were 16 people missing. Now the missing numbers coming down and the dead people numbers going up. The numbers are changing hour by hour because they're still finding more people. Just a terrible disaster. But here's some video of this giant explosion. Again, this happened about 5 p.m. local time yesterday.
This morning, devastating video showing the moment a plane crashed in Louisville. Video showing the UPS cargo plane smoking. It crashed shortly after takeoff, creating a massive fireball, spreading to several businesses on the ground. The flight, on its way to Honolulu, took off from Muhammad Ali Airport, carrying about 38,000 gallons of jet fuel. Officials confirming this morning 9 people were killed, including all 3 crew members on board.
Yeah, so an absolutely insane scene. You can see in a map here in this story, It goes down the runway, it ends up crashing, and at the end of the runway, there's a bunch of these businesses. You have some kind of logistics warehouse, you've got a bottled water plant, auto parts supplier, truck repair shop, and a fuel recycling company, which I don't know what kind of damage was done to that place, but what was it was the amount of fuel on this plane that caused this massive fireball. And if you have this jet fuel fire going down the runway and crashing into some other sort of fuel plant or fuel warehouse, of course, that's a disaster too. And so when you have these missing people in this situation, of course, you assume the worst. But the question is, what happened? And earlier today, investigators announced they have found the black boxes for these planes, so they will have flight logs and a bunch of data to tell them. We do know based on video that one of the engines just fell off the plane. Fell off the left wing, or it's somehow adjacent to the left wing. It fell off. It caught fire and fell off as the plane is heading down the runway. And according to this coverage in Reuters, the plane is designed to function or fly if it loses an engine. But it looks like there was some kind of fire involved here. It wasn't just the engine failed or even fell off. It was the blaze itself in combination with the fuel that was on this airplane. So no definitive cause released yet, but it is notable that one of these three engines caught fire and fell off as it's going down the runway. If people are curious, no, there's no indication that this is government shutdown related. It wasn't related to air traffic control or anything like that. It looks like it was some kind of mechanical error. I don't know who's to blame for that, but there's no reason to think it's the government shutdown. At least that's what they're saying right now. But
people always say when there's a story like this, like, you're a million times more likely to die in XYZ than a plane crash. But the plane crash is a million times more frightening. That's what we're taking into account here.
In this case, obviously in this case, it's cargo. So I think there were only 3 people on the plane. But if something like this happened in a commercial,
it's the sheer terror of knowing,
it does happen. I think of the one over the river in D.C. last winter where the Army helicopter crashes into it and the plane is basically cut in half or whatever happened to it. But you had people falling from the sky into the river. So just imagine when you're taking off in a plane and you put your head back on the headrest and you're listening to your music or your podcast or whatever, and you're trying to relax, but you got whatever travel-related anxiety. All of a sudden there's a big crash and then you don't even know what happened because your eyes were closed. And you are a few hundred feet above the river in DC with all the night lights around you, and you might have a few moments to realize you are tumbling toward the earth uncontrollably, and you kind of know that's it. I assume that happened for some people, and
I would hope I wouldn't realize what's happening. It would just be confusion before.
On that plane, I think people definitely did because
I know, but I would hope I would not.
Some I'm sure died on impact with the helicopter, but if you're on the other side of the plane from that. Anyway, of course, if we learn more about the story, we'll come back to it. But we'll leave it there for now just because there's no definitive cause identified. And we will get into our callers here.
There's some sick fuck out there whose package is delayed and he's more mad about that.
I wasn't going to make the... Wait a minute. So is my Amazon... was my Amazon package in there? Yeah.
I'm just going to hit the bathroom. I'll be right back.
All right.
Obviously, proceed without me.
Okay. Gladly. I'm going to talk to Tom while I wait for Matt. Tom, are you there?
Hi, how you doing?
I am well. How are you?
Not too bad.
Matt had to take a bathroom break, so it'll just be me for a moment.
Wow. Now I can be the New Jersey expert.
Yeah, we have plenty of New Jersey guys tonight. No shortage.
Yeah, I was like, oh well, I get to talk to Matt tonight about what happened in New Jersey, and it's like, oh well, that's fine. Let me talk about Mamdani then. I wonder what kind of stuff he's actually going to be able to accomplish for all of his promises. He needs a lot of state approval and city council approval and maybe fire chief and stuff like that approval to get.
Did you see that
done.
the fire department commissioner, the FDNY guy, resigned earlier today? He's out in December. So that'll be interesting.
There you go. I'm also wondering about what kind of I'm afraid of it turning into like a London, if you know what I mean.
Turning into? Seems that ship has sailed. Well, I guess maybe New York City. Maybe not New Jersey. You know it better than I do.
Well, New York City, I mean,
I guess you're talking.
Right
You're
New Jersey. So a lot of people who are going to be leaving from New York City will move over into New Jersey or Connecticut.
Sorry, that's my mistake. I forgot you had shifted to New York City. I thought you were keeping the New Jersey theme. I didn't mean to read.
No. Yeah, this is Mamdani.
Yeah. But I guess what would turning into mean? Because like what is it about London that is so much worse than New York City, other than maybe they'll arrest you for memes in London?
Well, I think the change in the ethnic makeup of the city.
Is it worse in London? I actually don't know. I don't know what
I believe it. I believe it's getting pretty bad. Or okay.
By that I mean, like, are there more foreign,
more less native-born British?
Yeah. That's what I'm getting at. Is like, what has the higher foreign-born population, London or New York City? Matt, do you know?
London or City? Well, it would be New York City. I
think so?
believe. Well, it depends. Because foreign-born, like if they're foreign-born but they're from like Switzerland, I don't give a shit. If they're from Haiti, it's a problem. So it's just not a. It's like the percent of Americans. That are
but like,
go ahead.
But in this case, you can use that as a proxy, though, too. Like when you see the percent foreign-born, does that indicate Hans from Norway, or does that indicate Pakistani Ali getting the shout out from Mamdani on the stage?
Generally the latter.
Yeah.
That's just a good question. I don't know. I was in London last year, and there are cities that are like the opposite of ours, where the city center is like normal, but the outskirts are where it's hell on earth. So I was in the touristy area, so I didn't really get to see as much of it. I don't know. I could be wrong, actually, because I know that London is minority British at this point.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah.
I could believe that. Tom, did you have a closing thought?
No, it's just I guess I was a little bit blue today. I saw the map. And I'm in
No pun
Burlington
intended.
County, and it's like it's even darker blue than it was before. So that's a little sad.
Do you think there's any hope for New Jersey? I know you had called in earlier and we were talking about it maybe a couple of weeks ago, but
Well, like I said at the time, I was listening to what the algorithm was feeding me, and the algorithm fed me what I wanted to see. So I wasn't too disappointed. Well, too surprised about it. I was a little disappointed that the margin of victory was greater this time than last time.
Well, Godspeed to you in Jersey, both of you, really, but to you, Tom, as well.
All right, take care.
I was going to ask where in Jersey it was.
Tom, you still here?
Oh, I'm in down near the Tacony-Penmire Bridge near Cherry Hill.
I think I'm near there. Hold on.
Halfway between Trenton and Camden.
You think you're
okay.
near
So you're
there.
like an hour or two from me.
Yeah, right along the Delaware.
How
Very
big
nice.
is this state?
Very nice.
Isn't everything near everything in the
Oh,
Eastern
Jersey,
states?
everything's in like a 1 to 2 hour radius. Yeah.
Yeah. You guys don't even know.
So no
far.
matter what his answer was, I was going to say that.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Tom. Have a great night.
Take care.
Okay. Next, we're going to talk to Caleb, anti-vegan. Caleb, are you there?
Make it happen, man.
Caleb, are you there?
Oh,
sorry. I stopped you because I don't know what you're talking about. So I don't want you to say say something you'll regret when you're live.
I was chatting with Tim.
Yeah.
Good man.
What do you got
Good
for us?
man.
I agree. Thank you for that.
Yeah. Well, I'm still trying to figure out, I guess, on a higher level, why we're still all doing this. Because the leftists are going to left, the Trumpers are going to Trump, and there's nobody in the middle anymore.
When you say doing this, what do you mean? Like politics as usual, thinking about the like winning the election next time? What is the doing this?
trying to have conversations, trying to convince each other, trying to be reasonable, because the super MAGA people are not moving, and they are, whatever Trump does is gold, and the anti-Trump people are anything Trump does is evil, and there's no in between anymore.
Yeah, obviously, I want a society where evidence and reason win, and I will always try to participate in those sorts of discussions to persuade people. But to your point, it's very hard for me to identify what the shared values actually are. I don't know. When I look at people who are enthusiastic about Mamdani, I can't make a 3 bullet point list about the fundamental ideas that we share on what the government is or how it ought to exist or for what purpose it serves. So I don't know how you operate within that world. This guy's saying that the government is Superman. The government is your Lord and Savior. It is not. It is a necessary evil at best, but it needs restraint. And if we don't agree on that, like the purpose on which it exists, how are we supposed to have debate that leads to the sort of results that you're talking about?
And then they also rig the electorate through mass migration, and then obviously they want to turn illegal immigrants to legal immigrants for that purpose as well. So it puts us in this position where we have to counteract all of that and be, the political debate version of the guy playing 10 chess games at once, and it's not really possible. And then for everyone else's kids, we have the public education system is rigged against us. So it's just so much work to out-debate and out-convince all of that. We almost have to just try to seize control of these institutions ourselves and reform them in our favor. Which is, I wish politics was high school debate team. I just don't think it is at this point in time.
Caleb, we took a bunch of your time,
that.
so go ahead.
No,
I'll
you're
shut up.
fine. It's just it's we're past that. Like,
Yeah.
they shot Charlie Kirk.
Mm-hmm.
We are well past having that conversation and having that debate.
And you know what's frustrating about that, though, is even that point is not agreed to. People think that Tyler Robinson was a right-wing griper who had nothing to do with left-wing politics in any way. Or he was a fall guy for some other sort of influence. Like the premise that left-wing ideology motivated the shooting of Charlie Kirk, even that is not universally agreed to.
And that's exactly my point, is we are beyond conversation.
Mm-hmm.
They killed a man, they assassinated a peaceful man who wanted to have conversation. And now we're trying to have conversation.
What do you think we do? What should we do instead?
The gospel of Jesus Christ. Because there is nothing else at this point that I can see in this world that is going to change somebody's heart.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I am a sociopath.
I think haven't you told me about that before in a prior call?
Yes. So the day Charlie Kirk was killed.
Okay.
And I came in and I was furious. I didn't know what to do with myself, and I wanted to hurt somebody.
That's right. I remember you saying I remember that statement. I'm a sociopath. It stuck with me.
And now I'm sitting here all this time later and looking at the world around us and the country around us and going, not only has nothing changed, but it's gotten worse.
Yeah. Well, I of course I would agree with you, and I hope that people do acquaint or reacquaint themselves with the gospel. But unfortunately, I hope it happens. I just worry that the same obstacles are going to exist there, that these people are openly hostile to it. And
but they're going to be.
Yeah.
The difference is the gospel can reach people where cultural conservatism cannot. You start speaking Trump's name and people recoil in horror. But if you preach the gospel of Jesus, you have a chance. And
Even
it's not
Nancy
your
Pelosi
chance.
claims to like it. So yeah, maybe you
Yeah.
have an inroad there.
It's not about you anymore once you start speaking the gospel. It's about God, and God can change hearts. I can't change
I hope
hearts.
so. And frankly, I have to hope so. I don't mean to be dismissive of your point because I embrace it. I just the resistance to basic truth and basic morality from these people is so strong, and I just but I have to believe, I have to hope for and believe in what you're saying because there's nothing else to put hope in if not that. So I think you're wise. I think you're right. I just, man, is it
you're literally talking to a sociopath who is a Christian and hasn't hurt anybody recently.
Well, that's good. Appreciate that.
Jesus,
have you left any voicemails for people saying they should die like dogs of pancreatic cancer in the street?
I've done worse than that in my past.
I
yes.
hope that you die in the street like a dog.
Worse than that. All right. Well, okay. At least you're not acting on it.
I'm just saying that Jesus can change a person, even the worst, and I do consider myself the worst.
Well,
Like,
you have a lot
it's
more humility
struggle,
than
but-
many, at least. But thank you for the call, man. I appreciate it, and thank you for. Yeah, it's a very interesting call because it's simultaneous. It's like black pill and white pill together, But I don't think that you're wrong. I think the diagnosis is actually very serious, and I think the prescription is also very serious but encouraging. So thank you for breaking that down.
Thanks.
Have a great
Be
day.
good.
You got any hope for? We did talk about that on Sunday, Matt. Was there are studies, or a study that came out in September that shows a pretty significant religious revival among younger generations. We just kind of dumped on all the young people that Mamdani touched in New York City, but there's also a spike in religiosity among young people, according to this study that we were reading. Do you buy a revival among young people, or is that just insufficient hope right now?
I don't know. I mean, when I go to church, it's still generally an older. I don't know. I could probably figure out the average age next time I go. I mean, the younger people there are generally the children of, they're there with their parents, but I don't see anyone like in their 20s there alone or with friends really. Obviously, that's a sample size of one church, so I'm not sure entirely. I mean, it is believable in the sense that I grew up in the generation where there was this really like hyper aggressive, cringe-inducing form of atheism that dominated the culture for this very brief moment.
It was on a tear like a decade ago.
Yeah,
YouTube atheism was.
Have you seen the infamous A.A. Lewis Euphoria post?
No, I know. I don't know what that is.
I'll send it. It's sort of sarcastically referred to as the one Reddit post that destroyed atheism, but it was just really emblematic of the kind of snide, leftist type of atheism that was permeating the internet at that time. But I could see that turning a lot of people off, and then a lot of people too have seen sort of when there is no religious cohesion, what takes its place, and it's things like the transgender movement or a lot of bad things.
To the caller's point on the state of debate, that's another thing that's so frustrating is we're not sitting around debating the ideas of trickle-down economics or the ideas of whether food stamps have a multiplier effect like we were talking about a week or two ago.
They do not.
I agree. But we're not talking about like complex economic theory that maybe has some debate to it. We're talking about fundamental ideas like men are men, women are women. And yes, there is a set of objective rules to the world. There is an objective morality. There is right and wrong. And it comes from something above us or before us. We don't invent the rules on the fly. And frankly, I find it very hard to relate to people that think morality itself is a human construct in that way. Like the rules of the world are something we just invented and not something that was defined before us and for us. And I can't claim to tell you, oh, it for sure was God in this way. I know everything about it. That's the great mystery of the world. We're always trying to find it. But if you don't think there are any rules to this world that you are bound to, and it's just made up, You can do whatever you want. Really, it's only a question of whether like a majority supports you in that, or whether a king said it's okay, or some form of government approves of it. It's very hard for me to relate to you on that basis, because we all know when we do something wrong, you feel it. Oh, I shouldn't have done that. Why do you feel it? What is it in you that tells you that was wrong? I'm supposed to believe it's just because like 51% of people voted to say that was bad. That's why I feel that way. It's that sort of stuff, base level concepts that I just don't think we can relate on anymore. And so it's very hard to have the quote unquote higher level debates about theoretical concepts. Anyway,
I agree.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Next up is Kinetic. Kinetic, are you there?
Hello?
Yes, sir. Are you there?
Yes, hello, Matt.
You're very, very quiet. Is there any way, can I get your mic closer to you, or?
Yeah, how about now? Is this better?
Yeah.
Get it as close as possible, and I might be able to boost you. Keep going.
Hello? Yeah, it's right up against my mouth. So I don't
Yeah, do that. I can work with that. What do you got
Is
for
this
us?
Yeah, my quick question is concerning the kind of like, personally, I'm Canadian, but my question is related
Get
to
the
the
hell
New
out
York
of here. We don't have time for you. All right.
No, but my question is related to the New York thing, because personally, the generation before me, my family have all immigrated from India.
Hmm.
So my question is, considering like my family still has a disconnect where they don't really see that sometimes the people who are always saying like, we're pro-immigrants and pro-immigration, don't always see that they're not like voting for the people is not always what's best for like them or the quote unquote community in general. But I don't know how to like get them to see that disconnect, see past it.
I'm not sure I follow the disconnect. Matt, can you help me out here? Or so just so I understand, you are second generation Indian immigrants to Canada, correct?
Yeah.
And the disconnect is what? Can you phrase it another way?
Like, for example, here in Canada, the Liberal Party set up that carbon tax a few years ago, and then I've listened to my aunts and uncles complain about it, and then there's like cheering on the Liberal Party when they got rid of it, even though they created it in the first place, like that type of thing, or
okay.
I remember the.
It's like cheering for the Democrats to end the shutdown when they made the shutdown. That sort of idea.
Yeah, and I kind of realized that, especially when I think it was a few months ago with that California Indian guy who shouldn't have had that trucker's license.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
There are many of them.
Yeah. Sadly. So it's like my question is, do you have any advice to help me get them to see where that disconnect is?
Well, I guess this is kind of related to what we're just talking about. Yeah, how do you? We need to.
Yeah, it's a lot of it
in
is
this debate.
Is people not, I guess, fully understanding cause and effect with a lot of these policies. I mean, I guess with your family, it's easier to sit down with them and talk to them than it is with someone on the internet who's just I don't know. Some people on the internet can never accept they're wrong, so there's no point in arguing with them. But I don't know. I would
people. Can anyone on the internet accept that they're wrong? I include myself in that. It's very hard.
I mean, it's anyway. I don't know. I guess just try to show them to the best of your ability, like the before and after. Here's the evidence of them supporting it. Now they're against it. Well, it's because it's so unpopular that they know that it would help them more to be against it. But I don't know Canadian politics as well.
I would say if I was in this position, the people who have changed my mind ask good faith questions. It's not like the badgering, pestering kind of gotcha question. It's just fleshing out your opinion until you get down to the core fundamental principle at the bottom of it. And for the most part, when people change my mind on all sorts of things, whether it was philosophy of government and the appropriate size of the federal government, or guns, or any number of things that I've changed my mind on, it's because they got down to questions that I couldn't answer or I couldn't counter. So rather than just kind of going at people and saying you're wrong, I think
recommend doing that. Yeah, no.
It can work with some people, but I think you have to take the approach of good faith questions, even if you know that you're trying to debate them. I guess just do so
that actually
and try to understand try to get them to explain their beliefs through question asking. And eventually the goal is to get them to find an inconsistency or a contradiction or a betrayal of their core principle that will get them thinking. Like when I've changed people's minds, no one has ever declared to me, you know what, Matt, you did it. You changed my mind right there. Congratulations. I now believe X. I used to believe Y. No, the way it happens is you leave a little thought in their head, the gears in their head spin for a few days, they think about it, then they come back to you and maybe kind of indicate in more subtle terms that they've changed their mind. That's how it happens. So it has to be a slow game of gentle question asking, Socratic method style.
Yeah, like you don't want to present it in a way where they really don't want you to be right. Like, that's why actually it goes back to what we were saying, why no one admits they're wrong on the internet. It's usually because both sides are being total dicks to each other. So it's like, I'm never going to, even if I realize I'm wrong in the spot, I'm never admitting that to them, you know?
Yeah, it's a sport. It's a contest.
Yeah.
So I should just, make them think about it a bit more, basically.
Yeah, be polite, just ask, show them the before and after, explain, I mean, listen, they're politicians. They're incentivized to just do whatever they think's the most popular, not what's right. Yeah.
Well, Godspeed, and thanks for calling in. I appreciate it.
Thank you. I'm a long-time listener trying to call in for the first time.
This is your first call. Well, thank you for calling in. I really appreciate that. And I hope Tim made it a good and easy process for you. And if people are, well, can I ask you before you go, if people are thinking of calling in, they've never called in before, was it a good experience for you? What kind of Yelp review would you give me?
5.
5 stars for the duct tape.
Oh, thank you. Okay. Appreciate that. All right. Thank you, Kinetic. Okay. We're going to leave calls there and appreciate our callers tonight. But I haven't checked up on the voicemail inbox. Oh, man. We got 3, Matt. So you want to listen to these voicemails?
They're going to tell us to die like a dog.
I hope that you die in the street like a dog.
I was hoping for some kind of joke voicemail
You just
like
have a
that.
second monitor with all these...
No, it's not a second monitor. It's I don't think I can get it in front of the camera.
No.
I have 2 Stream Decks with just loads
nice.
of buttons on them, and I was talking about it on Sunday because people have asked me for the soundboard before, and I don't have it in a way that you can like go to a website and click all the buttons. Mm-hmm. But I did make all the buttons on the soundboard or the sound files available. Do you have a guess? Maybe you heard. I don't know. If you did hear, tell me. How many individual sound bites do you think I have on my soundboard?
From what you just showed me?
But those are...
It's like 1,100,000?
Yeah, it is closer to something like that.
Over a billion, 200 billion.
That's what I was going for with my, anyway.
It's almost 300. In fact, with these new submissions, it's probably right at 300.
Fuck you. I hope
Do you
die.
just have like a number for each one? Do you remember them? Or
No, the great thing about the Stream Deck, and I don't have a...
We're not getting sponsored for this.
I don't have an Elgato sponsorship, but they're great products. And a listener recommended these to me about a year ago. And if you're a person who's making stream content or video content or anything that it's not even related to that, if you have like complex computer tasks that you need to do, all of these buttons are programmable. It is just like having an extra keyboard. So all the sounders, they're labeled. I know exactly what they are because I have them all mapped out.
Smart.
Anyway, so it's it's a lot of fun that way.
Let's listen to our hate mail.
Yeah, sorry. We'll get into our voicemail here. And super chatters, appreciate you guys as well. We're going to get to you at the end of the stream. Don't mean to leave you hanging. Appreciate your support for the show. We'll get through some voicemails and emails. We'll get into your super chat. Okay. I do have, this is a little bit risky because I haven't listened to these. These are fresh. I do get a transcription so I can see if it's like totally insane. But this one looks like I probably won't be deleted from the internet for it. So let's listen to our first voicemail.
Calling with more tales from the truck stop.
We got this
Not
call
planning on
last week.
making it like a weekly bit or nothing, but if I've got something topical, I figure I could call in and share the perspective. The other day, I had a guy come through who asked if we accepted EBT. He was a young guy, a young black trucker. You can tell he's a trucker because he's got the headset on and all that. And it reflects it. I just went, no, we don't. Sat down, did a double take, looked at him. He had to have been like early 20s, clearly a single guy. And I just went, "Are you on EBT?" And he looked at me and went, "Yeah." And I looked at him again. I went, "Why?" I'm in my late 20s, got a couple kids. I'm not on EBT. He probably makes the same, if not more money than me. I don't get it. But yeah, it's everywhere.
Thanks for the call. And Matt, this was a caller from a truck stop in North Dakota that left a message last week or the week before and was talking about Indian truck drivers and how common they are. But I've had this or a similar experience. Now, I'm not trying to call out any friends and I'm not going to name people, but people who have been closer friends of mine in prior years of my life have done the same thing where I've been, say, in a grocery store situation and found out that they have food stamps and they're offering to buy me. Oh man, you want like a sandwich? You want a candy bar? Like, no, I do not. Why do you have that? You know, they're college kids who, I get it. They're not making a ton of money, but my point is this is clearly not a situation of desperation. They're taking the money because they qualify. And it's as simple as that. Well, I qualified for this government benefit, so I'm going to use this government benefit. I guarantee you, of the 42 million recipients, the overwhelming majority are people who absolutely do not need the benefit to sustain, survive, but they qualify, so why not take it? That's what we've done here, and it's all federalized. If this went to the states, maybe you want state food stamp programs. There are people who are genuinely in need of help, but one of the problems of making this, one of the problems with how detached from desperation this has become is that it's federalized. Like nobody cares because you're receiving a benefit from like faceless taxpayers across the country to whom you have no accountability. So why not just take the free candy bar? And a lot of people do it.
Well, food stamp spending doubled under Biden. So you're not telling me we couldn't take away. I mean, obviously you have to account for the insane inflation under him as well. But okay, let's just say it went up 50% if you adjust for inflation. Okay, you could therefore reduce it by a third to get back to where it was. And I don't think a single person was starving before that huge increase. Therefore,
no, I played an interview from CNN on Sunday of Jake Tapper pressing this woman. Oh, your food stamps are getting cut back or maybe eliminated. What are you going to do? And she said, I don't know. Guess I'm probably going to work hard and save money. In fact, I have been saving money for some time in expectation that this day would come. So, I'll probably tap into my reserves. If I run out of money, though, I'll probably go down to the local food bank, check out my local church. I have lots of local options to help me out. Yeah. They're trying to find the desperate people, the people starving in the streets. They don't exist. They find people who say, this was like mildly inconvenient, but it prompted me to work harder and think more critically about my spending habits, which actually is kind of good.
I saw a stat that I honestly thought was hard to believe. So let me know if you've seen anything to the contrary, but I think it probably is true that only a third of people on SNAP are working. Now, granted, there are kids getting SNAP, so you got to factor them out of the rest.
And I assume
but
some
still,
people are
30%,
genuinely disabled or can't work for whatever reason. That's a thing.
30% is not a lot at all.
Yeah.
I mean, the labor force participation is what, 60 or so percent? So,
it's like 60 low. It's like 62, 63 right now.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Good.
Anyway, all right, let's check out the next caller here asking about something about race and crime stats, it looks like.
Hey, Matt. Did you see the infographic that's been going around Twitter about how black children on the top 1% of income have the same level of criminality as white children who are making around $36,000 a year?
I've seen that.
I'm just curious how, well knowing that affects the children you'll let your children hang out with as they're growing up. Which is the best. Great show. Take care. Bye.
So that was an incredible chart because the New York Times came up with those numbers, and if you read their
is it recent or is this
I think it was like a 2020
statistic?
George Floyd era stuff.
Okay.
They were quoting that to prove, well, it's because cops are so much more racist against black kids that the black kids from the top 1% go to jail at the same rate as white kids from the bottom whatever percent. But it was an incredible self-own.
Yeah. And I don't doubt I mean, I know that the idea that it's all socioeconomic factors. That is all that explains, and racist police. That is all that explains the disparities that exist in crime statistics measured across race. And I have no reason to believe that the caller's incorrect or that what you're describing is incorrect, that when you control for economic factors, you actually, not only do you not see the same crime rates, you see elevated crime rates among the same black demographic that tends to have elevated crime rates regardless of income, regardless of financial circumstance. So the question is, how would I apply that knowledge to who my children hang out with? I mean, fundamentally, it's still going to be an individual assessment. I'm not going to judge any particular person who comes before me. But your question, or the extrapolation of your question, is valid. That is to say, to the extent that differences exist across groups on average, if you have critical mass of a particular group, are you going to see effects that are present in that group? The answer is yes. So, I'm not going to assume that any given person that my children are with has negative qualifications X, Y, or Z. But in the aggregate and on average, do I have concerns about demographic changes in my community or the consequences of the things that we're talking about tonight, mass migration? Or, yeah, I mean, I have to. So, but I don't think those things are mutually exclusive. Like, can you be fair in your judgment of the individual while recognizing that ignoring group trends and failing to account for those group trends with things like immigration policy, that is suicidal in ways? Yeah. How would you handle that? Well, you're a soon-to-be dad, Matt. What would you do?
Well, I thought it was a good hypothetical because there is a huge black population up in Montana, so you're going to be coming across this often. Well, there actually is. It's not. I mean, I know it's not. We're not talking like the South here, but yeah, it's not a never occurrence. Yeah. Well, you go by the parents, I would say. I mean, you can tell, but yeah, I mean, if they're normal people, they both work, they're functional, I'm not going to check their criminal records, but I think you can generally tell just by the way people talk or what their hobbies are, if they are, I don't know, prone to certain behaviors. And
what if he tells me that he's got a great dad, but he went out for cigarettes and he'll be back any minute? Can I let my son hang out with that kid? No, I have to vet for it. I can't believe him.
Is the mom home to make sure they're both?
The mom is, but she offers me a candy bar from her food stamps. Is that a no?
Need new friends, sorry.
Yeah, I'd probably say no to that one too, but thank you. Appreciate the call. All right. Next one. This one looks a little long. This is about 2 minutes. I might have to cut this off, but I'm going to play a little bit of it, okay?
Hi, Matt. Turles here. I thought I would try to slip in a weekly book recommendation and
here we go.
Maybe a comment or two about the races that just concluded in New York and Jersey and all that. First thought about that is, there are going to be a lot of people making a lot of cynical comments, trying to point fingers, lay the blame at whoever their hobby horse happens to be. I've seen a lot of that on Twitter. In particular, anybody who has been critical of Tucker Carlson or Nick Fuentes or whoever, they are being blamed for this, which is, of course, very silly.
I'm going to pause it there just because I am so annoyed. I know it's a little bit of a meme, but I have seen so many comments to the effect of, oh, well, yeah, if you guys hadn't been fighting so much about Tucker and Nick Fuentes, then you would have...
But any of this is happening. We are so online, we forget that.
Well, yeah, the idea was like if you podcasters had invited these candidates onto your shows and not been bickering about Tucker and Nick Fuentes. Now, I also am annoyed by that fight. I'm annoyed by...
It's very gay, yeah.
The whole thing is like, yes, I'm not here to gatekeep or police who can interview whom on what terms. Listen to the interview. If you like it and agree with it, great. If you don't, criticize it. But we're talking like it's suddenly become a moral failure to talk to people on certain terms. And this is one thing that just pissed me off about the left. And the reason that I left was it was bad to talk to certain people.
Well,
that's what I'm seeing coming from the right now is that same gatekeeping. And it's really annoying.
I watched the Fuentes interview and it was just a completely normal interview. There was no, the comment he made praising Stalin, I took as sort of tongue in cheek or like edgy, but besides that, it was a pretty normal conversation. And listen, Tucker has interviewed some pretty fucking crazy people before, and no one has cared. So why is Fuentes the line that could not be crossed? And it felt coordinated that every single person was suddenly against him.
This is the thing. I don't get too tinfoily and conspiratorial about this, but it feels fake to me.
Yeah,
like the outrage feels. Even the debate itself feels fake. Like something feels inauthentic about it. And I'm very annoyed with it, so I just tune it out. It's like
I think Fuentes is just a threat to them, and they know that, so they're going to try to deplatform him in any way. And I don't know, the tactics they're using against him are very like Media Matters-esque, where they're defining him by very short clips. The whole like. For the past 10 years on the right, it's been you can't call someone a Nazi because you're just trying to legitimize violence against them. That's why the left calls us that. We all know that's true. And then everyone's calling Nick Fuentes a Nazi. And it's like,
well, whatever happened to, I've heard you have controversial views. Explain. And then he explains. Like I don't look at an interviewer and think, he has a moral obligation to enforce my worldview on this person. Now, you might prefer a more critical interviewer or a more lenient interviewer, and we encounter that all the time. Like, you might look at an interview of a politician and say, well, that was kind of a softball one. I wish he would have pressed on this or that. And you can say that about Tucker, like, oh, he didn't challenge in this way or that way. But it's become so far beyond an interview-style debate and entered the realm of, like, morality itself that I just find it bizarre.
The Heritage president put out a pretty milquetoast statement, and then the right, and it's just mainly like a lot of like the really pro-Israel types, they were reacting the way social justice warriors do. When
because he said, no, we're not distancing ourselves from Tucker.
Yeah.
That's what he said.
Yeah. No, they react when someone who espouses a really marginally right-wing opinion and then has like 400 qualifiers says something, and then their audience who are social justice warriors, like they would freak out. There's parallels in how they were freaking out, and I just thought it was, I don't know.
It's annoying. I think it's a disservice to the consumer too. It's like, why don't I just get to listen to a person and all decide if I think their views are good or bad? Why do I need someone to tell me before we discuss with this person, I have to disavow and describe how everything they believe is wrong and terrible? I'll decide that for myself when I listen. I don't need to be told those things. I'm a big boy. I can think for myself. It's not a moral failure if someone doesn't do my thinking for me or disavow according to your terms. I know it's a big gap, a big schism, a big divide on the right now. I'm very frustrated and disappointed with that. And for the people who think that the election could have gone better if only we had done podcast interviews of these candidates instead of talking about Tucker and Nick Fuentes or whatever, to steelman their perspective, the point does stand that if the right was more unified, I think they would be more effective.
We also don't turn out to elections. Like in Jersey, Jack only got, I think it was only something like 70% of people who voted for Trump in 2024 voted for him, turned out to vote for him. But Mikey Sherrill's retention among Harris voters was like 90%. So a lot of it too is like we just didn't show up.
I cut the caller off halfway through, so I'm going to play some more just because.
Right.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's even obvious that they are at fault either for this mess. It's really more like you were discussing. It's a matter of demographic changes. It's a matter of the youth, the women vote, special interests involved who are being pandered or catered to by the Democrats in these particular areas. These are blue strongholds after all, so I think we could all stand to be a little bit less cynical and at each other's throats about this. That being said,
see, I was right, man.
I'm the reason I call it cynical is because they're making a play basically to change the character of the movement here, rather than just say, time to reset, refocus, and we should be definitely more collected and clear-minded after the assassination of Charlie Kirk. So, if you want to learn something about the character of the nation, the book I recommend this week is the autobiography of Benjamin Franklin. A surprisingly entertaining read for an autobiography, and he is, of course, one of the most foundational figures. Even among the founding fathers, he has perhaps shaped the character of the country more than almost anyone else. So, read Benjamin Franklin's autobiography. You won't regret it. And I'll talk to you later.
Thank you to Turles for the call. Appreciate it. Benjamin Franklin, whenever I don't know a lot about, I should take the recommendation and read his, this is his autobiography, I think he said, or is it a biography of, it's his autobiography.
Yeah.
I don't know a lot about the life and philosophy of Ben Franklin. I'm sure I could read more about him, but I always hear the quote cited, those who would trade a little freedom for security deserve neither, something to that effect. Yeah. And it's always, people always say, that's not what he meant. Go back and read it in context. That's totally not what he meant. It's you're misunderstanding the quote. He absolutely meant that you should trade all your freedom for security. That was his philosophy of government. Have you ever gone back and read the letter in which he said that?
Should I pretend to sound smart?
I don't know. Sometimes you're a fact checker guy, so sometimes you have the insight on these things.
So yes, but why don't you elaborate?
It's been a while since I went and have looked at it because I've investigated this claim that that's out of context and a misrepresentation. The last time I looked at it, I remember thinking that is exactly what he meant. That's not a misrepresentation at all. So I need to go back and check. I wish I had more to say on
That's
it.
That's what I remember from it as well.
It was total bullshit. I should go read more about it and give you a better presentation than that. But it's one of those quotes where it's like been retroactively redefined by people who claim that we don't understand the context when in fact they've just invented a context in which it didn't exist. But whatever. I'm not Ben Franklin historian guy, which is why I should read the book. Did it have a title or is it just Benjamin Franklin's autobiography?
I think it's just the autobiography of Ben Franklin.
Ben Franklin's autobiography.
The best book since The Air.
Yes. Yeah. Or maybe The Air is the best book since that one, since I think one predated the other, but Anyway, The Air. Inside the not so secret network of Alex Soros, linked in the description for you.
So good. So good.
Yeah. All right. Let's catch up on some emails and then we'll get into our super chats. We'll call it a night.
Cool.
As a reminder, if you'd like to send a voicemail, by the way, thanks to our voicemail callers this evening. If you'd like to leave a voicemail or send a email to the show, you can do that through the contact page on my website, mattchristiansenmedia.com/contact. Both of those links are right there for you. Let's get into the email questions. Bible Bill says, "Hey Matt, I'm back because I get a commission every time you tap the sign. By the way, I've heard you explain the sign tapping thing multiple times, but I still don't know what the actual sign is. And at this point, I'm afraid to ask."
Don't make me tap the sign.
We don't have time to get into it. I've retired the topic. Do you know what the sign tapping is about, Matt?
Like the meme where it says don't tap, like to make me tap the sign. Oh, then no.
Yeah, well, the meme, but like what the sign tapping is on this show.
No.
Good. Let's leave it that way. Maybe we'll discuss it another time. It's actually very important, but I've talked it to death the last month or so. So we'll leave it there. But what he's talking about is another sign that maybe should be tapped, because last week, Matt, I had mentioned that my wife and I are considering baptism for our entire family, our boys included, and I was baptized as an infant. And I don't know, according to church teachings or theological teachings, if multiple baptisms are bad, and if so, why? So we got a couple emails on perspectives on multiple baptisms, and Bible Bill here says multiple baptisms are bad because of what baptism represents: the death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus. See Romans 6:1-4. There is a theological significance in Christ being the final and once and for all sacrifice for our salvation. He can't be sacrificed again. See Hebrews chapter 6 and 10 for more about that. Getting baptized again would be like Jesus getting crucified for a second time. When you are baptized, you are making the proclamation, I am a disciple of Christ. Now, as a good Baptist, he says, I don't think infant baptisms are valid baptisms, so I think it's perfectly fine to get baptized as an adult as a profession of your faith. I was baptized as an infant in the Roman Catholic Church and made the same decision you are making. Though if your theology says infant baptism is valid, then you should not get baptized as an adult anyway. Just like you are only born once, you are only born again once. So that is why you should not be baptized, or at least, or that's why you should be baptized, but not twice. Please live stream it. Well, thank you, Bible Bill. I won't be live streaming the baptism for a few reasons. Number one, I don't want to actually bring any scrutiny I might bring to my church. I want to keep sort of my public presence away from them. Number two, I want to keep my family's privacy in this sort of situation. But number three, we actually would like to do a river baptism, and that's kind of technologically difficult for live streaming. So it won't be live streamed, but I do appreciate your enthusiasm. But as far as a second baptism, yeah, that would be the qualifiers, the same situation you described. For me, it was as an infant. If I was going to do this, or when I plan to do this, it's as an adult making a conscious decision. And so you're saying that the first one doesn't really count because I was an infant and I didn't make a conscious decision. But to me, in my unstudied opinion, even if I did it later on, I don't know. I mean,
I think God has bigger problems.
Well, yeah, it's like it's kind of like a renewal of your marriage vows.
Yeah. I just feel like if you're going, even if objectively you're not supposed to do it, if you didn't have that knowledge and you went in with good intentions, I think God would, not hold that against you. Although no one should be getting theological advice from me. You might end up in hell.
It's a pretty good chance for me too. I thank you for that qualifier. But yeah, I don't necessarily think that recommitment cheapens the commitment. And I know what I'm saying might be at odds with some teachings, as you're saying, Bible Bill. But in theory, your marriage vows are only necessary once, and you remain committed to them for the rest of your life. Yes. But if times go astray or you forget that commitment for whatever reason, I don't think that reacquainting yourself with the commitment is a problem. In fact, I think it's good. But that's just my thoughts on reacquainting yourself with foundational ideas, first principles, all that stuff. Just a dude. This is less a question and just responding to the questions about baptism from the previous Wednesday show. So it is debated, but I feel that it is somewhat straightforward, as many times in the Bible, or means, it might be a typo here, but people being baptized, basically every New Testament book calls it at one point or another. I disagree with child baptism, as the child is innocent and without sin at the age of accountability, or until the age of accountability. I believe baptism to be a choice and a promise before man and God, and a child simply cannot make that choice, similar to how we wouldn't let a child purchase property, get married, or many other things. I'm sure people will argue the point, but I've yet to hear a compelling argument about it. So yeah, this is again to the point of child baptism. And I wouldn't say that I'm against child baptism, and I admire parents who want to commit to leading their children and their families in following Christ, and I think fundamentally that's what a child baptism is. But I do think it is something fundamentally different from an adult baptism. The conscious choice that you're describing is lacking, and it's that public declaration by choice. And I've never done that public declaration by choice, and so that's what I'm looking to do. But do you want to condemn child baptism, Matt?
Me? No.
Oh, okay. Just giving you a chance. Do you want to simp for child baptism?
I'm a bit of a child baptism simp, yeah. Well, I don't know, because the whole... Okay, so I'm not well versed in this. The whole, you mentioned the age of accountability, but if we're all born with sin, how does that work then?
Yeah, well, I guess...
Should you be baptized then for that reason?
Yeah, that's it. So he's saying accountability... Age of accountability, they're innocent. I guess I'd have to ask him. I don't want to put words in his mouth. Does innocent mean free from sin? Because, of course, that would be contrary to teaching, I would assume. Yeah. We are all born sinners or imperfect relative to God himself. Gotcha. So is it about the innocence, or is it about the conscious choice? That's the question.
I'm not a theologian, unfortunately. Yeah. As I said, don't take my advice on this. You will likely end up in hell.
Yeah, well, actual theologians are listening and thinking. Shut the fuck up! So, I'll respect their wishes. Chang Bastard. I'm considering why the oligarchs of the Western world would have opened our borders, and I've come to the conclusion that I'd like your consideration on. TLDR, the main intent is to create chaos so that many in the West... freedom, liberty-loving Westerners will not accept but advocate for, not only accept but advocate for digital ID and digital currency in the aftermath of the looming economic collapse. Question, is there any way to get society to reject digital ID, or are we all doomed? And Chang Bastard, I know you sent like a hypothetical explanation of this theory, and just in the interest of time, I'm going to set that aside, but do know I read it and considered it. And I don't know if a plot that exists here is that specific. Like, we're doing all of this to accept digital ID and digital currency. But I do certainly buy the theory that chaos can be a useful tool intentionally deployed to get people to want centralized control. And the fundamental question you have to ask is, do you believe that the chaos that we've seen, whether it's on immigration, crime and the excusing of crime or letting criminals out after they've committed crime, economic mismanagement, if it even is mismanagement at all and not intentional, are these all just big whoopsies done by otherwise well-intentioned people, or is it a trick to create the chaos and then use the chaos as a tool to centralize power for those seeking it? And I really wish I could endorse the accident theory. Like, oh, people, they mean well. It's just they're confused about how to solve this. Any accident theory for me disappeared in the COVID times when it was, whoops, a virus escaped the lab. And oh, wow, you have to listen to everything we say. It's your only hope for survival. That was not an accident. The release of the virus was not an accident. The political convenience of it was not an accident. The utility for those who wanted power, that was not an accident. All of that, if I had any doubt to offer, it was erased then. Like that was a test run or a small demonstration of the sort of effect that you're talking about. This is Chang Bastard. Oh, Just a Dude was the prior one. I think I attributed the questions wrong, but this one's Chang Bastard. So yeah, I mean, Matt, what do you think as far as some of the social developments we've seen? Is it accident or is it design?
Well, if it was an accident, knowing what we know now, you'd expect them to, go to the whoopsie portion where they say, "Oh God, all right, we made a big mistake there. Let's let's undo." But no, they're doubling down. I mean, they're literally rewriting history in front of us as we live to favor their narrative because, they don't want it to ever even be thought possible that anything in the past was preferable to what we have now.
Yeah, but and certainly the centralization of control applies to currency in the way that Chang Bastard is talking about. Yeah. Now that functionally everything is online, everything is exchanged digitally, it's even easier to control in that way. And I'll admit I'm a victim of the convenience too. It might not even be chaos and the thirst for control in response to chaos. It can be pure convenience. Mm-hmm. Like, I hate the idea of people controlling and policing my purchases. However, I love the convenience of a credit card or a debit card or Apple Pay or whatever else you might use. And I hate the inconvenience of carrying cash around and having to deal with quarters and change all the time. And I'd rather not deal with that. So, but is that contrary to my philosophy of trying to avoid centralized control? Absolutely it is. So I'm just being a hypocrite in the name of convenience. It might not even have to be that nefarious as you're describing.
What did Ben Franklin say about giving up freedom for convenience?
Well, that was taken way out of context, and it was about safety anyway.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. Ben loved Apple Pay. He was a big fan. You can read about it in his autobiography. Okay, next question. Thank you, Chang Bastard. Captain Risberry asks, what is your opinion of J.D. Vance putting his hands on Erica Kirk's waist? Is this something that is appropriate for a married man to do with a woman that he is not married to? Would you be okay with another man putting his hands on your wife's waist? So I investigated, man. I don't know if you've seen
It's like it was for like 0.1 seconds.
Okay, I haven't seen the video.
Yeah.
But there was a turning point event at the University of Mississippi. J.D. Vance is there. Erica Kirk is there. They share what looks like a pretty enthusiastic hug where her hand is on the back of his head. And initially I didn't see the waist stuff because it looked like J.D.'s hands were on her back. But then I scrolled down and I found the screenshot. There he is with his hands on the waist. So you're telling me this was very short-lived. It was not.
Who cares?
Okay.
It's just wild.
Who cares?
You can get murdered, and then not only are you dead, the entire internet is going to be weaponized against your grieving widow. Like, let's just leave the woman alone. Like, who gives a shit? Anyway, and by the way, the people fainting over this also want to put porn in kindergarten. So, like, just spare me. I don't know.
Only gay porn. Let's be specific. Only Scott Wiener approved.
Yeah.
Well, okay, but I want to entertain the other side. Now, I'll entertain the other side as much as I can. Do I think that there's something going on between JD Vance and Erica Kirk? Of course I do not. If they actually had some kind of affair or something, would they put it on display in front of all these people for everyone to see? No, they would not. So I don't think it's anything like that. Would I be a little uncomfortable if my wife embraced another man with her hand on the back of his head, or if
I wouldn't be thrilled, but I'm also alive.
So, yeah, you get to offer your opinion on it, whereas
I'm not trying to be funny when I say it. What I mean is, like, she is someone who's grieving. That's someone who's been there for her. Like, it's not a sexual thing. It's a loving thing for.
And my understanding is they have a pretty strong prior relationship. Do they not? It's not like they just met on the stage this time, right?
Correct. Oh, no, they've known each other for a very long time through Charlie. Yeah.
So, I think both things can be true. Like, is this an embrace that is more than I would be comfortable with, my wife and another man? Yeah, but is it also true that these two probably have a relationship and the circumstances are certainly outside what is normal? That is to say, if I was shot dead and my wife met with Matt Palumbo to grieve and
I wouldn't do that, by the way, but if I did, it would not be with bad intent.
Oh, I thought you were saying you wouldn't go to my funeral. You
no,
I
would cry as well. Yeah. Okay.
Oh man, I would be totally sad.
I would be devastated, man.
Now I have to take over the Matt show, and I see the pressure's on. All right, no, but yeah, it's definitely a very warm embrace. However, I think the circumstances are plenty explanatory of why the embrace might be unusually warm.
And she hugs everyone like that. Like there's a lot of photos, women. That's how she hugs people. It's not.
And
there with the vice president.
I'm also a bad person to ask because it's not even that I'm like a prude necessarily on touch in that way. I just I hate hugging. I'm the worst hugger in the world. I don't want.
You're a sociopath.
Yeah. Well, I'm probably crazier. Yeah. I should share some thoughts with that caller on sociopathy because we probably have a lot of similar traits. I don't want another hug in my entire life. That's my stance on hugs.
Wow. What about from your kids?
We'll talk about it. They've probably earned a few, but with other people, no. I don't want to hug. So that's my stance on hugs. I'm anti-hug by default. So actually, if I was going to criticize this, I would say the fact that they're hugging at all is an offense that should be controlled. Anyway, next question. Thank you, Captain Risberry. Vig Vagina.
That's disgusting.
Now, Vig, you sent 3 questions, so I had to pick one, and some of them were related to the sign tapping topic. So while they were interesting, I'm just going to let those breathe a little bit before we get back into sign tapping territory. And he had one instead about government shutdown, or the government shutdown and what to do about it. So, Matt, I have some suggestions to resolve the government shutdown. Number 1, you could do nothing for the anarchist who thinks it has already been solved and people just need to embrace the current approach. That's one thing you could do. 2, when the government is shut down, no one in Congress or their staff get paid, and also no back pay. And I'm willing to even allow their employment benefits like health insurance to temporarily lapse. Would this provide some motivation to keep things operating? Number 3, start selling off the departments to let private businesses, take them over and run them more efficiently. I think the TSA could be privatized and all airlines operating at an airport contribute to the operating costs. Added benefit that the proceeds can go to reducing the national debt. Convincing to you. So approach 1, just do nothing and not caring about the government shutdown. I'm generally fine with, and I share that perspective. But number 1, that perspective won't work with most people who think the government serves an imperative role. And number 2, it's actually not that fine in the status quo of paying taxes to the government and having them do nothing. Now, I thought about this because I thought, well, I can't pay them and have them not work. However, paying them to work is arguably a worse outcome. Like, what if I have the money taken from me, would I rather have the federal government doing stuff or not doing stuff? So maybe I would just like to have it shut down and I'll accept the theft scheme. But point 1, I have some problems with. Point 2, should we have some kind of law, or maybe you could get a constitutional amendment? I don't know. But I think it's a very fair one. If Congress can't create a budget they don't get paid. Their staff doesn't get paid. Nobody in the legislative branch gets paid because they have the power of the purse and that is their job. That's just basic fairness. I mean, out there in the private sector, no work and or no results for your work means no pay. So they should be held to that standard.
That's common sense, yeah.
I think actually that would be like a buy. I hope everybody would be able to agree on that. In fact, let's say if you polled Democrats and Republicans or liberals and conservatives, I think everybody, just citizens, would agree with that. But does the politician class agree with that? Like, could you actually get Congress to vote?
Oh,
for
hell
it?
no.
Probably not.
Although they've all agreed to not give themselves raises for like 15 years for optics.
Oh, wow. That's great.
Yeah, the 174, I think it's been at least 15 years it's been frozen. So
Is it inflation adjusted? Because
no, it's
I
not.
was going to say that's the scheme. They just print a bunch of money and inflate the currency, and then they get raises.
No, so in real terms, they make a significant amount less than they did, when they froze it. But
Now, point 3, start selling off these departments and privatizing them. I mean, I favor this generally, but I want to be clear that I don't want the federal government just contracting off tasks. I want the federal government out of most of the business that is these departments. So send education back to the states. Send TSA. That should be sent to the states. And I think you could control security at these airports in the way that you're describing, either under state oversight or you have the airports themselves working with airlines to do it. We don't need federal management of that. We don't need federal management, whatever, EPA, agriculture, name your department, send it back to the states. So when you say privatize, I guess what I'm saying is I don't want national private business running these things. I would prefer state control, and if that ends up in private hands through state oversight, that's fine. What I'm trying to protect against is like, well, we don't have a Department of Education, but we have Education Corp that runs the education system in all the states anyway. Because to me, that's just a different flavor of the same problem. Yeah. I don't know. Would you find that? What are your thoughts on that, Matt?
I mean, I generally favor privatization of most things where, or I should step back a second. Any function that is sort of business-esque should be privatized, and that if you have a privately run business and a government-run business, the privately run one will be better 100% of the time. So the USPS, for instance, is this weird quasi public-private monstrosity that should just be privatized entirely. Education, I think there should be market incentives, but generally speaking, I think that should be, left to the states. So it just depends. It has to be case by case. A lot of things I think should just be done away with altogether.
Every time I approach the counter at the post office.
I hope that you die in the street like a dog.
You're in the 70s when you go there. Like, nothing has changed at all.
Well, dude, it is amazing. I have a PO box, and actually I should change it to one of these private mailbox operators, because I've had a PO box for the purpose of this channel and the show for the longest time. Some people, there are all sorts of reasons why physical mail is necessary, but it's funny that every once in a while I'll get a package at the PO box, which of course I'm very grateful for. Sometimes people send me gifts for the kids, or it might be a box of diapers or something like that. And that's incredible. I'm really grateful for that. But it comes at the cost of having to wait in line at the post office. And every time I've somehow survived, the struggle to survive the line at the post office is even worse than the struggle to live without food stamps. You want to talk about starvation victims? I have survived lines at the post office to get my supplies. Okay.
Well, a line, like 4 people at the post office is the same as like 40 at Chick-fil-A. When you adjust for the, it's incredible.
And so, you talk about black people in Bozeman, they all work at the post office, every single one. It was funny because this post office, they had people who didn't speak English there, even though everybody in this town does. They find the people that don't speak English and they import them there. Yeah. But I knew times were tough in the recruiting at this post office, because you won't believe this, Matt. Recently, they've actually hired normal white guys.
Wow.
Like, that's how desperate the situation is at the post office. They actually have to hire normal white guys. So maybe the situation will improve.
You got to admit, though, the service is a miracle in the sense that it works 99.9% of the time. Maybe it's a little less, but the fact that it works at all is still a miracle given who works there.
It is pretty impressive. I'll give them that. But Anyway, just know, for those of you who decide to send physical mail once in a while, and I appreciate all of you very much. I don't mean to come off as though I'm complaining, because I'm not. But you can kind of get that chuckle. Like, you can picture me desperately struggling, trying to survive the line at the post office. And there's nothing worse than sitting in the line and getting to the front of it finally, but realizing like you didn't fill out the form that they want you to fill out, or there's some other problem and you have to restart.
Where I live, your P.O. box, you can just go up to yourself. Are you like in Montana? Like
I can, but I only have a small, like, letter-sized box.
Oh, so it doesn't fit. Okay.
For the most part, if it's just envelopes, yeah, that's fine. I just grab it and go. Yeah, and sometimes it's a box where they give you the little key to go in. Like, they give you a key to a bigger box. But sometimes the box is too big to fit in those boxes. So it's a select circumstance. But when it happens, it's devastating. I know that, like, my children are going to be without their father for the entire day. Who knows if I'll ever come back? I'm in the line at the post office. There's
rough.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you, Vig, and appreciate your thoughts on the shutdown. Gnome Chomp Ski. Do you believe that the authority for asserting the will of God comes foremost from the church or the Bible? This is one of the differences in perspectives between Protestants and the Catholics and the Orthodox churches. So I haven't thought a lot about that, as you probably gather from my discussions of theological tradition. I'm not greatly informed on those topics, but in my rookie mind, these are such closely related things that I don't know that I've put a lot of thought to this distinction. But the Bible is the word of God. That's the idea. The Bible is delivered to us and understood through the church. And when I say that, I mean that generally, not even necessarily the Catholic Church, but that's the function that churches serve. So if there was a conflict, do I trust the script of the Bible or the institution that is delivering me what is supposed to be a proper understanding of that script? I'm going to trust the script. And I don't want my fellow man standing between me and the word of God, unless it is my choosing. And this is going to sound anti-Catholic maybe. I'm not trying to make it that way. I'm trying to explain my own philosophy. Of course, I want people who are more learned, more well-read in biblical scripture to explain it to me. That's why I do the Bible study. That's why I go to church. But to me, I'm inviting those people to fill that role. If someone comes to me and stands between me and the scripture and says, no, I automatically have authority on that by virtue of, whatever institution, to me, that is man claiming ownership of that text or of that message. There's now a man-made barrier between me and the text that I didn't choose, I don't consent to. I have no idea who this person, who's nothing more than a fellow man, on what basis is this guy asserting authority over that or over me? Does that make me anti-Catholic? Again, I don't know enough to know, and that's not what I'm trying to say. I just know that I will pick Bible over man or man's institutions. And I'm sure the Catholics out there would probably tell me, well, the church actually does have that same rightful authority that the Bible itself has, and here's why. And I'm open to hearing that perspective. Again, I'm not trying to tell you that you're wrong. I'm trying to explain what my perspective is as I enter these more complex concepts about biblical authority and all that.
Aren't you kind of ending up that way in the end, though, anyway? Like, if you had 10 different Bible studies analyze a passage, and, 9 of them say it means one thing, one says it means another. I mean, what do you do then, I guess? I don't know. But obviously I haven't thought it through this much. But
it's not that. I guess my point is any one of them could be wrong insofar as they are men trying to understand God's message. Mm-hmm. So, of course, I'll evaluate those messages for myself and decide if I agree with them or I don't based on my understanding of the scripture. Mm-hmm. What I don't want is a guy saying, no, you don't understand. I'm the one. I'm the godly guy here, and what I say is the proper understanding. That's what I don't want. And I know that's a caricature or a misrepresentation of maybe what some churches with more defined hierarchies and structures would do, and you're probably shaking your fist at me and saying, Matt, you have no idea what you're talking about. You're right, I don't. I'm just telling you that I don't want men telling me that they have automatic authority over the scripture. And as long as that's not going on, then I probably don't have much opposition to it. Anyway, Lee. And thank you to Gnome Chomsky, not to be confused with the guy who, how does the actual Gnome spell his name? I can't remember. Noam.
Yeah.
Anyway, Lee, great name. That's my middle name, by the way, if people don't know. I'm an American trucker. I appreciate that you covered the story a while back, and this is about the Indian trucker situation. The biggest problem with the foreign drivers on the roads is that they're willing to run loads for way cheaper than they should. Most of the time, they'll pull 3 or 4 guys in a truck, and they all live in it, and they send money back home. In addition, there are so many on the roads, capacity is way up, and so rates are way down. If we get rid of the ability of for foreign drivers to get these non-domicile CDLs, their commercial driver's licenses that they're able to get, then rates might actually go up. Then the smaller carriers and the owner-operators can actually survive. So many companies are losing money and having to shut their doors, sometimes leaving their drivers stranded hundreds of miles away from home. I've heard ICE is starting to show up at way stations and truck stops. With their limited resources, how should they split their time? Should they get these illegal foreign drivers out from behind the wheel of a semi, or go into neighborhoods? So your discussion of the economics here, that does make sense, that imported labor is undercutting American labor. Happens in all sorts of sectors. It makes sense that it's happening in trucking, except for the fact that I can't believe that we actually offer not just foreign people commercial driver's licenses, but people whose legal status here is absent or very questionable. A lot of these people, Matt, the Indian truck drivers that have crashed recently, they're Biden-era asylum seekers. So they have pending asylum hearings, and they are given these non-domicile CDLs because they get work permits, while they wait for their court date in the year 20 infinity. And we're allowing them to drive these like 40-ton trucks, and in some cases completely just not pay attention and run people over on the interstate or do illegal U-turns like the one in Florida. So that's the situation. Like, it's baffling to me that is, or was, I know Sean Duffy has made some policy changes, but that was federal policy, and then a lot of states are A-okay with this. It's one of those amazing things. Like, is that an accident or is that intentional, like we were talking about earlier? But on this question, should ICE prioritize, did you have a thought? Sorry, I didn't mean to.
Well, I read that at some of these weigh stations, they were, when they got to like the the guy you talked to before you weigh, they were handing them children's books and asking them to read it. Which
yeah,
you got to admit is the funniest setup right before getting arrested.
So that ICE was deploying that tactic, or
yeah,
who?
Like you give them a Dr. Seuss book, if they can't read it, you're screwed.
Well, this might be, we heard the woman voter in the Fox piece earlier, and she was saying, "Oh, I can't believe the Supreme Court has A-okayed profiling." Well, this is the sort of stuff that we're talking about. That is to say, if you're not able to read English, some questions about your presence here might naturally follow. Sorry, that's just demographically true. I don't know what to tell you, lady. But the question then is, given the situation that exists for these truckers, should we have ICE at these weigh stations or going after the truckers, or should we spend more time in the neighborhoods going after the sort of criminals who have criminal records beyond just their presence here, which the Trump administration has been prioritizing? And to me, it's both and. I mean, if you ask me, how would you split these people up? I mean, I guess I'd have to evaluate the volume that exists on both to determine the distribution of the resources. But in terms of my assessment of the risk, I'd have to call it something like 50-50, because if you have violent criminals with a violent past who are here illegally, I have to assume that their past behavior indicates their future behavior, and you need to get them out of here before they commit violent crime again. But even if these guys who are driving trucks have no criminal history beyond their questionable presence here or illegal presence here, the fact that they're driving these giant trucks that could wipe out anyone's family the second they don't pay attention or don't understand a sign because they don't speak English, you have to deploy significant resources to that. That is a massive public safety threat, and we're seeing it realized several times recently. We're going to act like these are odd, rare outcomes. No, they're not. That's a very predictable outcome when you have people driving these trucks who don't understand the language. How this was not foreseeable is amazing. And to the emailer's point, if you actually did cut down on this, you might actually have some benefits for the American trucker, the American worker too. That is to say, they're not trying to compete with 3 Indian guys who live in a truck together and are willing to do this for ridiculous poverty wages.
I mean, we should just try to deport everyone. I mean, the real goal is to encourage self-deportations. And the way to do that is make it look like no one is safe. I mean, having opportunity cost arguments in government is pointless because the government is never operating at 100% efficiency anyway. There's always slack. So just go for everyone.
Yeah, well, that is an important point. You know, I guess I hadn't thought about like the importance of going after the supposed nominal illegal immigrant to the extent such a thing exists. But what you're saying is, yeah, even the person who isn't theoretically a criminal beyond his legal presence or illegal presence and isn't driving a giant truck down the interstate, you still have to go after that guy on principle because it demonstrates to other illegal immigrants or would-be illegal immigrants, number one, don't come here. But number two, if you are here, it might be wise to take that DHS deal, collect that $1,000 to get out of here yourself before you have a legal encounter that's going to be a lot tougher. I hadn't thought about that kind of that sort of self-policing angle as much, but it does make sense. Yeah, I mean, and if you need people to leave on a massive scale, which you do, is it more realistic to round them all up by force, or is it more realistic to get them to do that with their own 2 feet?
I want them to feel like no one's safe. That's my goal.
All right. Fair enough.
Anyway.
That'll do it on email questions. Appreciate everybody's questions for the show. Remember, if you'd like to send an email question or leave a voicemail for the show, you can do that on the contact page of my website. That's mattchristiansenmedia.com/contact. All right. We're going to get to our super chat. We're going to call it a night. Appreciate our super chatters because I know you guys have been very patient tonight. I'm going to start over on Rumble. We'll move over to YouTube and Tippy Stream. Your friendly neighborhood Fed. He's still on paid vacation, I think. So a gay muzzy terrorist who touched young people.
He touched young people.
Will be mayor of New York. Trump should make Escape from New York a reality and turn Manhattan into urban Alcatraz, a win-win for everybody. Now, Escape from New York is another movie I've never seen, Matt. Have you seen that one?
Yeah.
Okay. I forgot about gay muzzy terrorist. You know, that one's in here somewhere too. Do you remember that quote, Matt?
I do not know.
Here it is.
Sadiq Khan is just a gay muzzy terrorist. Just a gay muzzy terrorist.
I have it in here twice, I guess. Sadiq Khan, is he still mayor of London?
I think so, yeah.
So Sadiq Khan was making a point that people are mean to him online and on formerly Twitter. When this was at South by Southwest in Austin, maybe 2018, somewhere in there. And he decides that he's going to get up on stage and read the meanest tweets that people have sent him, not as a comedy bit, but to demonstrate his own victimization. And he stood up there and read,
Sadiq Khan is just a gay muzzy terrorist.
Yeah. And that's a direct line to Zoran Mamdani. Now we have Zoran Mamdani as mayor of New York. But that was a classic moment. Sadiq Khan at South by Southwest. Skulldugger. I like the concept of incumbents not being able to run for re-election. I would be in favor of a constitutional amendment that removes term limits but prevents anyone from serving back-to-back terms. You know, when we think about like term limits in Congress and rules for how many, like on what terms people can be in office, I used to be a lot more hesitant about that because my thinking is, hey, it's about the states picking who represents them, and if they want to do it on ridiculous terms where 90-year-olds who have been in there for the last 50 years, it's on them to make that selection. But especially with the federal government, man, it's so powerful that I've come around to just, even though I would prefer states having most of the power in this country, to the extent that states exercise power over each other by having these old people who are in there for 50 million years, I think it's a pretty... It's strangely a federally enforced check on power to have term limits and other restrictions on who can actually go to DC. And of course, the more you shuffle that deck, the harder it is for power to get entrenched there.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess I don't know if he was implying this with like him saying he wants there to be term limits, but like, you could serve one term, not run again, then run. Is that, in your first term, you can't do any short-term policies that are in effect buying votes to then get you reelected. So I think that is smart. I don't think we would ever see that. I initially did not support term limits for the reason you stated. Like, if you like someone, you should be able to vote for them as much as you want. But there are a number of districts in this country where the electorate is effectively retarded. And there are certain people that will never get voted out no matter what they do. And it is a disaster. It's almost for their own good that they need to be term limited.
There's a lot of for your own good temptations these days. Ramsey, Tim needs a pay raise. Do the right thing, Matt. Well, I don't get into the particulars of my business, but I'll tell you that everybody who is contributing value to my show is compensated, and that's for a reason. And if you're providing value to me, I'm not going to let that go unnoticed or unappreciated. So, yeah, it's very important to me that people who are regular contributors are compensated in that way. So thank you for your vote of confidence in Tim. I really appreciate that. And thanks for supporting the show. All right. I got a refresh over on YouTube and Tippy. Okay. Okay. Yeah, let's start down Long Dong John here. Around 40% of New York City residents are foreign born, and I'm sure that number doesn't count the illegals. That's probably true. Is it time something was done about the legal immigrants too? And if so, what? Well, yeah. I mean, that's a... I don't even know how to answer that question. It's obviously that gets into outside of the law territory. How do you undo someone's citizenship? Do you... I guess my worry, I'm not even saying that the question is invalid, because just because something's legal doesn't mean it's wise or doesn't mean it's sustainable for all time. But once you start entering that territory, I don't see how you do it within our current legal structure. Those are questions of war, basically.
I mean, I would like to denaturalize like 30 million people. Is that too much?
Conservatively. Yeah,
conservatively. Listen, if you're anti-American and openly posting that on social media or something, I think that alone should be grounds. Like, what
is the legal process for denaturalization? How does that
it's so rare. I don't think it ever really is even really a thing. But I would love to know and implement it immediately.
And the other thing, Long Dong John, and to me, it actually is it's a question that's one step ahead too, because I don't think that you have to deal with the illegal immigrants first. Is that fair? Like, it doesn't make sense to go after people who are legally here until you've dealt with the illegal immigration problem.
Well,
or
we
am I
have
wrong
no process, no viable process yet to really get rid of the legal ones who shouldn't be here. So for efficiency, yes. I'd say that. And it's easy to rally support for that, obviously.
Yeah, I just don't know. But I would start with a wall around New York City to keep them in. That's my most practical solution. Let's start there. Raggle Fraggle, my second daughter was born on Monday. Children truly are the primary purpose of marriage. Well, first of all,
we love you. You're very special.
Glad to hear it for you and your family. Says God bless and have a great show. And God bless you and your wife and your two. I think it's two girls, right? I'm like 95% sure it's two girls. But if I'm mistaken, Raggle, correct me and tell me I'm an idiot. But thank you for supporting the show. God bless you and your family. He said second daughter. It's got to be two girls, right? If you had a...
you'd never have one son and a daughter and say second daughter. You'd say second child.
Yeah. This is just me idiotically trying to walk myself out of this this stupid knot I've tied myself into. Yeah. Thank you, Raggle. And God bless you and your family. Appreciate it. Injured Guardian. Matt says there are no statues of perfect men. Everyone on the Argentinian and Chilean border. Are you sure about that? Are we talking Pinochet? Is that what we're getting at? Yeah.
Pinochet is probably the most moderate statue there. Yeah.
Is he a perfect man? I have heard about his helicopter rides, but I don't know much about his perfection beyond that.
He was an effective leader. Yeah.
Effective pilot. Did he pilot them himself?
Yeah.
Lowbrow the name I can't pronounce. Lowbrow Mythicathy. I know you told me how to pronounce it and I can't. Fun fact, highly regarded author Matt Palumbo asked Alex Soros to write a blurb for the book about him. What a Chad move. Buy his books.
That actually is true.
Did
Bingo.
Did you actually get a response?
Yeah, he knows who I am. He's not a fan at all. Yeah.
Did he? Are you telling me he said something to you, or you're just?
I spoke to him through Laura Silber, who's like basically his de facto mother. She organizes all of his interviews and trips for him.
Okay.
And he wasn't interested. Someone, a mutual contact I know too, tried to organize a dinner between me and him, and he rejected it. And then I tried to interview him for the book, and he told me he wouldn't do it. So, Alex Soros is a real jerk.
Thought you were going to say he left a voicemail like...
I hope that you die in the street like a dog.
Maybe not. Maybe that's coming. Long Dong John. Mamdani's first act was stopping Frank from appearing on tonight's stream. I don't know. Yeah, well, Frank will be back. I don't want to get into certain personal circumstances, but yeah, Frank will be back. But yeah, normally he would be on tonight. I don't know if Mamdani had anything to do with that. I don't know if Mamdani rounded him up and stopped him from that, but we'll have to ask him next time he's on. Joshy boy, may the fools suffer under the infidel. Well, I'm about to find out, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, just also, the screwed up thing about like law and order in New York right now is that Sharia law could be an improvement. So we'll have to wait and see.
Are we sure that Mamdani's wrong about everything? I don't know. Joshy Boy also says, just a reminder for everyone or people to join the call-in show. We'd love to hear from our new callers and their thoughts.
Bingo.
Always love to hear from new callers. That's right. And we had one last week. We had one this week. So I'm glad people are shedding their shyness and deciding to call in. We appreciate it. Glow in the dark. I always wanted to visit a third world socialist dictator-run nation. Now I can just go to New York. Socialist Disney World. We can always reenact Escape from New York. Be a fun experience remastered. Now, I understand based on the title that the premise of the movie is escaping from New York. Yes. But what are the circumstances that require the escaping? Do you know?
It's like a post-apocalyptic. I mean, I saw it 10 or 15 years ago, so I'm a little fuzzy. But it's like a post-apocalyptic kind of New York. I mean, it was inspired by the actual New York at the time, pre-Giuliani. Watch and find out.
Okay. Thank you for the summary.
Yes.
Osama should have run for mayor instead of 9/11.
Allahu Akbar!
Probably would have had a persuasive campaign these days if he was still around. Now, maybe he is still around. I don't want to get into the full tinfoil, but watching the Bin Laden documentary that came out recently, that the killing of Bin Laden is such bullshit, dude. That is not how it went down. No way. I think the whole, I don't know. I'm more
There's two people who are credited with killing him.
Well, there's Robert O'Neill.
And then
who's the other guy?
I can't remember his name. If you Google like guy who shot Bin Laden, I think the other guy will come up first.
Okay.
So unless they both took the shot at the exact same time, I don't know.
To me, there are a lot of questions about what happened, but you got him and you got the body. Yeah, the burial. Let's see. No photo. Yeah. That's like the most wanted photo in the world, and you're not going to provide it. Okay. Yeah. Oh, it's too gruesome. We shot his brains out or whatever. We were protecting your sensibilities.
I don't care.
Fine.
9/11
put graphic
was worse
warning
than,
on it.
Yeah.
It was all to help Obama's re-election campaign. And I find it so strange. I don't know. Maybe Robert O'Neill will come on the show and tell me how full of shit I am, which I would invite, actually. I would love to have that conversation. It's not a personal thing against him. The story just doesn't seem to make sense. And I don't understand how they're like, yeah, there's like 20 SEALs or Spec Ops guys or whoever were involved here.
Half of them are dead.
The only one who's going to talk about it, though, is Robert O'Neill. Why? Why is he... I know that there's kind of a code among these guys that you don't share these stories publicly.
You're not supposed to, is what I was told.
So why is he doing it?
Frowned upon that he did that. I don't know.
Maybe he could answer that question for me. Listen, I was not there. I'm not any kind of special operator. Clearly, I can't get over the fact that you did this, but you didn't want to provide any evidence to the public about how it happened. I don't get that. But I loved that documentary too, because it was all about the hunt for bin Laden. Did we talk about this earlier where they talked about
who made it?
I think it was on Netflix. I forget who
yes,
made it.
I did watch that. Yes,
but do you remember the part where the CIA? First of all, it was like 5 CIA chicks leading the search for bin Laden. A bunch of women.
No wonder it took us a fucking decade.
A bunch of clucking hens sitting around the office, and then they had that one insider. Like, oh, we've been working this guy forever. They had this like Islamic dude who was
the
there.
triple agent who
yeah.
Yeah.
And then they, oh, hey, yeah, man, come over to our compound in Afghanistan. Tell us what you learned. What? You're wearing a vest and blew the whole place up. Oh, man. And then they went before Congress, and Congress is like, you stupid bitches, how did you let this happen? And they're victimizing themselves. Oh, the members of Congress were so mean to us. Classic, dude.
God. Yeah, but yes, that actually was a good series, I thought. But,
It's the whole thing's bullshit. Bin Laden is hanging out somewhere.
Yeah.
He'll probably be the next mayor of New York. Glow in the dark, not really Trump that was the issue. Really, Bush was called a 1930s German. Everything they called Trump was said of Bush. More a breakdown of shared values as we have split and one side must concede. Yeah, so this is talking about the election results. And I can't wait. The best era, Matt, is going to be whoever runs next, like J.D. Vance is super Hitler, super Trump, and they'll pretend to reminisce about how
Trump. Yeah.
They would disagree with him on policy, but he was fundamentally a good man and a great father.
He called people's names, but he wasn't Hitler.
Producer Tim, it was worse than that. Dianne Feinstein was away from Washington for 3 months while recovering from shingles. That's right. She just kind of disappeared. When she came back, she seemed to not remember being away. When talking to people, she said, I haven't been gone. I've been working. I forgot about how all that went down. You're right. It was totally insane. Injured Guardian, we now need a Walton Goggins Guns sounder. I don't even know what that is. Do you know what that is?
Not a clue, Matt.
I don't see this is some kind of SNL thing, and I don't see a short clip of it, so I can't really pull it up. But if you want to send it to me, then I'll perhaps I can load it into the system. Thank you, Injured Guardian. Producer Tim Mamdani has proposed a whole bunch of ridiculous and insane policies. My question for you guys is, what do you think is his worst policy? I would define worst to mean most damaging, but maybe you guys would define it differently. What do you think? Well, the high-profile ones were the city-owned grocery stores. What was the other one?
Rent control, free buses.
That's right. Rent control. Rent control's got to be the worst, I would think.
Well, it increases prices in the long run by constricting supply.
Of course.
It's the most documented thing in economics ever. And then the free buses, it's kind of like with the subway in that the price serves a secondary effect in keeping certain people out. In that if you were to enforce the bus fare universally, that not one person could get on a bus or get on the subway without paying, the amount of incidents on the subway would go down 90% overnight because you're filtering out a lot of people.
Yeah, can you get on the bus without someone lighting you on fire, or the subway problem?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think most consequence for most people would be rent control. The city-owned grocery stores, like it's a bunk idea.
It's gonna be one of them probably, but yeah,
he's not. He's not going to kick out other estate. Well, I guess it would probably have a significant impact on the little bodega shop guys and all that kind of stuff.
Well, there was a state recently that tried to open one, and it was a hilariously spectacular failure.
Several have tried. Yeah. I made a video about the one in Kansas City a few months ago.
That was what I'm thinking of then. Yeah.
Okay.
They can't even keep the shelves stocked, so it's not even really a threat to anyone else.
Yeah. Producer Tim also says, for the arrogant Aussie, how does the thing like EBT work? Here in Australia, any welfare money gets debited to your account. No, we don't have that generally. But they give you cash straight to your account? Am I understanding that correctly? But you have to declare income, and the more you make, the less welfare you get. Can you legally work and get benefits in the U.S.? Well, as far as food stamps, yeah. Generally, the requirement is 130% of the federal poverty level or below, and it is adjusted based on your earnings. But they send you a debit card. That's what EBT is. It's an electronic benefits transfer. It's a debit card loaded with the funds, and generally the funds can only be spent at on food items at food selling stores. So I can't take it to Best Buy and buy a TV with that card. However, people sell them for cash, and then they convert the cash to drugs. It has transferable value if you're willing to get a little creative, and that's what happens. It creates this own stupid market that the taxpayer then supports. Injured Guardian. I can't believe they do that though. If I'm, they just direct deposit.
Well,
Here's your.
The whole thing about selling the food stamps is proof, though, that we're giving them too much food. Because if you have leftover food stamps to sell for pennies on the dollar, we gave you too much.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they're still fat.
And then they get the whole thing in Seattle I was talking about recently is like the scale of the fraud in Seattle. A lot of the overdoses that you see on the street, this is all subsidized by the taxpayer. It's a massive scam where there's selling these the scammers buy the food stamps from the cards from the drug addicted people on the street. The drug addicted people get cash. They buy drugs with the cash. The people who get the food, the scammers who get the food stamp cards, they go buy a bunch of food at the store and then sell the food back to the store owner for a very low price. So the store owner effectively gets to sell the product twice and gets the income twice. And then they get cash from the scammers get cash from the store. So it's this very involved scheme where everybody's paying everybody, but fundamentally it's made possible by the conversion of taxpayer benefits, which are supposed to support food only, being converted to cash and getting a bunch of people paid.
Yep.
It's not, these people are moderately intelligent to come up with a scheme like that, but it's not like you have to be some sophisticated genius to do it.
Yeah.
Also, Mamdani also said, or producer Tim also says, oh wait, we got that one. Never mind. Injured Guardian. The capital gains tax is evil bullshit. It's literally punishment for making wise investments. I put in my money. I should keep all the profits. In general,
it's a bullshit tax. Yeah.
But, there are a lot of bullshit taxes, unfortunately. But yeah, taxes on being productive. What is worse, taxes on being productive or taxes on owning property or taxes on whatever?
It's insane that you have to pay tax on interest on a bank account. Like it's I don't know. It's
I didn't even know that. Like if you have a giant savings account and you earn meaningful interest on it,
you would have to pay tax on it. Yeah,
of course. I mean, what do they treat it like investment income? Basically, same thing.
It's what is it? I think it is ordinary. No, it's interest income. It's not ordinary income. I think it's taxed at a lower rate, but it's still taxed nonetheless. Yeah.
Producer Tim says having two new callers there were tonight. I didn't know there were actually two. That's good. Glad to hear from you guys. If you're looking to call for the first time, unsure what to do, DM me on Discord any time of the week. Can't figure out Discord, hit me up in the chat or the comments. Well, thank you, Tim. Appreciate that.
I was wrong. It's taxed as ordinary income.
Anyway,
go on. Yeah.
Tim says, journalism is supposed to tell you what is true and you decide whether it is right or wrong, morally speaking. Instead, they tell us what we should view as right or wrong, and we have to decide if it's true. It's especially a mainstream media problem. Yeah, that's one way of thinking about it, for sure. Producer Tim says, that's why I hate the out-of-context talking point. Technically, any quote from a larger text or speech is out of context, but something can still mean exactly the same thing both separately and in its larger overall context. Yeah. I need to go back to that Ben Franklin thing and evaluate the context once again. But thank you, Tim. Injured Guardian, give hugs to your wife at MMO and... Oh, wait. Ammo and... Sorry. You're censored for Raju Mahan. Give your wife hugs, ammo, and mags. That's what he's saying.
Bingo.
I think my wife would like that combination. Yeah. Thoughts and blogs. I like all the co-hosts, but Matt and Matt is my favorite duo. Great show, gentlemen. Well, thank you. We appreciate that very much.
We'll never know which Matt is putting first.
You're very special.
You know, I don't know if you saw, but a couple weeks ago, Matt, I brought another Matt into the show. So it's just even more confusing.
Too many Matts.
Matthew Mastronardi was fired from the Spokane High School because he read the N-word in...
I think I watched that.
To Kill a Mockingbird. So he goes by Matthew at least, though. So,
and I saw you were also on a certain radio show that already has a Matt-related segment.
Did you listen to that segment?
Yeah. Well, the last time I was on your show, we were talking at the end about Oh, I was trying to convince you you should just randomly cold invite yourself in other people's TV
That's
shows,
right, yeah.
radio shows, and you didn't like the idea. So what I did was I just messaged random people and said, hey, you should have Matt Christiansen on your show. And you did a very good segment on a show called Truth Be Told. And I have a segment every Monday called Mondays with Matt. And
it was funny when
a very smart guy.
Booker, the host, said that, and because I appreciate you making that connection, giving me an opportunity to expand my reach a little bit. And when he said, "Well, I already have Mondays with Matt," I thought, "Oh, great! I already knew there was another Matt here." But the fact that the alliteration has been stolen, I don't know. But yeah, I appreciate that. Taker610, and thank you, Thoughts and Blogs as well. I saw this post on Facebook that argued unrestricted abortion is consistent with Christian values, but enforcing immigration law is not. Okay.
I doubt it.
The twists that can happen in the supposed pursuit of Scripture are pretty amazing. And as I get into this more myself, I try not to let myself do that because, of course, I come to the Bible as an adult now, and I come to faith with a lot of prior political positions. And I don't want to impose those political positions onto the Scripture, even though I think they are largely consistent. But these rainbow churches, man, where all of it...
Yeah.
It is not... Abortion is not complex, okay? And for all the complexity they have made with gay marriage issues and stuff, and again, this is not me, if you're out there and you have a gay relationship or whatever, it's not me calling for you to be arrested and imprisoned. I'm just saying the idea that the full endorsement of the rainbow agenda is clearly part of Christian teaching, clearly not. Like, there are a lot of things in here that are just very confused or total contradictions.
There are people that think the entire moral arc of the universe bends around the gay rights movement.
Yes.
So, they literally think that the Bible was written insofar as it was all leading up to this exact one particular moment, which is an absurd way to interpret the text.
Yeah. The abortion argument, the gay stuff and the rainbow agenda generally comes from the generic description of Christ and the love thy neighbor teachings, which to me are easily countered by, of course, you love the person. You don't necessarily love the sin. In fact, you don't, and you seek to move people beyond it, yourself included. We're all sinners. This is not about being better than gay people in that regard or something. It's just recognizing there is a purpose for you. There is that some choices are better than others in pursuit of that purpose. I know that that's bothersome for some people to hear, but it doesn't come from a position of hatred. It comes from a position of seeking God's way for everybody. That includes the speaker, the person saying that. It's not I'm better than you. It's we're all on this quest together, and this is the way we should aim ourselves. Anyway, I guess what I'm saying is there's at least this kind of really simplistic, plausible argument for aligning Scripture with the rainbow agenda, like this sort of morally confused, anything goes, but everyone gets accepted stuff. The abortion stuff, I don't understand at all. You're going to sit here and tell me that the teachings of Christ not only approve of, but compel the murder of babies in utero? How? That's an argument I don't understand at all. Frankly, I've not really seen it, but the chatter is telling me that it exists, so I'm sure he has.
No, it does. I mean, they use the religion to justify something after the fact, in that if you're no one can honestly come to that particular conclusion. They have to be twisting the Scripture in that kind of way. And also, a lot of the people that make these arguments aren't even Christians. So they're liberals who are just trying to weaponize your own religion against you.
Yeah, not very Christian of you, I see.
It's like literally you are not. So.
Says the person who hates the entire teaching and would see it undone if they could. Yeah. Anyway, thank you, Taker. I appreciate that. And I think we're all set. We're good on Rumble, good on YouTube and Tippy. And so we will call it there. All right. Anything else before we are out of here, sir? Oh, yeah, that's right. Sorry, one more plot. Where are my manners?
If anyone enjoys my commentary, I do think you will like the book. Please leave a 5-star review as I said earlier, even if you didn't read it, I really don't care. It helps regardless. So,
if you just leave a 5-star review that reminds everyone how much you appreciate his appearances
jokes
on this stream.
Yeah, make inside jokes referring to the show. How else can I justify this?
Just 5 out of 5,
it'll
highly
feed
regarded.
My future daughter. I don't know. Just anything helps. Yeah.
All right. Well, there you go.
That's all I got.
I'm sure you'll be back before your daughter is born, but in the off chance not, of course, all the best and congratulations on that. But I'm sure we'll talk before that happens. Anyway, we will end it there. Appreciate everybody for tuning in tonight. Thank you to our live chatters and our super chatters for making the live show a success. If you're listening on demand later, thank you kindly as well for supporting the show. Thanks to our callers and our emailers. Of course, thanks to Matt Palumbo for sitting in tonight. Follow him on X at Matt Palumbo 12. His highly regarded book on Alex Soros, The Heir, is linked in the description for you. Thanks to producer Tim for his assistance as always. MattChristiansenMedia.com is where you find everything show related. I'm back on Sunday. Hope to see you then.